They can live underwater like fish. They possess the healthiest hearts ever measured by science. They have survived for tens of thousands of years in a land where you or I would die in just a few days. Let's explore the tribes that defy every law of human biology. Around Lake Eyasi in the central Rift Valley of Tanzania live roughly 1,300 people who may be the closest thing we have to a window into how every human being once lived. The Hadza are one of the last true hunter-gatherer societies on Earth. They do not farm, they do not raise animals, they do not store food. Whatever they hunt or gather in a day gets eaten that day. It is a complete trust in the land to provide every single morning. Now here is the discovery that turned modern fitness science on its head. Hadza men walk between 13,000 and 19,000 steps a day, tracking game across rugged terrain. Researchers assumed they must burn far more calories than the average office worker. They used the gold standard method for measuring energy expenditure, and the result was shocking. The Hadza burn roughly the same number of calories per day as a sedentary person in a wealthy country. How is that possible? The answer is something called constrained energy expenditure. Your body has a fixed energy budget. When you become more physically active, your body quietly cuts back on energy spent elsewhere, mostly on things like chronic inflammation and overactive stress responses. This is why the Hadza have almost no heart disease, no high blood pressure, and no autoimmune disorders, even though they are not burning extra calories. The lesson for us is profound. Exercise is not really about burning calories. It is about regulating the body's internal systems. Weight loss comes from the diet. Health comes from movement. The Hadza also have one of the most remarkable partnerships in the animal kingdom. To find wild honey, they communicate with a bird called the Greater Honey Guide. A hunter makes a specific whistle, and the bird responds with a chattering call, then leads him from tree to tree directly to a hidden beehive. After the hunter smokes out the bees and harvests the honey, he always leaves wax and larvae behind as a reward for the bird. And here is the beautiful part. The birds do not respond to just any human sound. They learn the specific calls of their local human partners. Two different species teaching each other a shared language across generations. In the hyper-arid Kyoko land region of northern Namibia, you will find women whose skin and hair glow a deep, rich red. This comes from a paste called ochize, made by mixing butterfat with ground red ochre and aromatic resin. Most people assume it is sunscreen or bug spray. The truth is more interesting. The Himba apply it primarily because they find it beautiful. It represents the red of the earth and the red of life-giving blood. But here is the clever part that science later confirmed. The butterfat acts as a barrier that slows water loss from the skin, and the iron-rich ochre reflects ultraviolet radiation. In one of the driest places on the planet, beauty and survival turned out to be the exact same thing. And speaking of water, the Himba almost never use it to bathe. Water is far too precious. Instead, the women take daily smoke baths. They place smoldering charcoal into a small bowl filled with herbs from the comifora tree, lean over it, and trap the smoke against their skin with a blanket. It cleanses the pores and works as a natural deodorant. When researchers later studied those resins, they discovered they contain compounds that actively kill bacteria like Staphylococcus aureus and E. coli. These women have been using a waterless antibacterial system for centuries, and it works. But the most fascinating thing about the Himba might be how they organize their entire society. They practice something called double descent, which is genuinely rare across human cultures. Every single person belongs to two clans at once. Wealth, meaning cattle, passes down through the mother's line, so a man's cattle goes to his sister's sons rather than his own. But spiritual authority, including the guarding of the sacred fire, passes down through the father's line. That sacred fire, the okuruo, burns constantly at the center of the village and is believed to be a direct line of communication to their ancestors and their supreme deity, Mukuru. Today, the Himba way of life is under threat right now. Namibia and Angola have proposed a large hydropower dam on the lower Kunene River. If built, its reservoir would flood roughly 15 square miles of grazing land and, critically, ancient ancestral grave sites. To the Himba, disturbing those graves is a profound desecration. In April of 2024, the Himba have already filed a formal complaint, arguing that no one ever truly asked their permission. Enter the number 1 in the comments section if you support the lawsuit and want to protect the lives of the Himba people. And do not forget to click the height button right below so that more people know about this information. If the Himba are remarkable, the San are something close to a living time capsule. Genetic evidence suggests the San are among the oldest continuous populations of human beings on the entire planet. Their maternal DNA lineage traces back roughly 150,000 to 170,000 years, descending directly from the maternal root of all living humans. When scientists talk about mitochondrial Eve, the San are her closest living relatives. Their languages belong to the Khoisan family, famous for click consonants made by snapping the tongue against different parts of the mouth, woven seamlessly into everyday speech. And their society is fiercely egalitarian. There are no chiefs, no hierarchy. Decisions are made by consensus, and boasting or arrogance is shut down through gentle mockery to keep everyone equal. But here is where it gets extraordinary. The San hunt with small, low-powered bows, which on their own could never bring down large game. So they use one of the most sophisticated poisons in the natural world. They extract it from the larvae of the Diamphidia beetle, and the active compound, called diamphotocin, does not attack the nervous system the way most poisons do. Instead, it binds to the membranes of cells and, when triggered by calcium, punches open pores in red blood cells until they rupture. The animal slowly collapses over hours or even days. Because the bows are weak, the hunters must rely on something almost supernatural: their tracking ability. And I do not use that word lightly. The San can read the faintest disturbance in the sand and tell you not just what animal passed, but its age, its sex, its speed, and how long ago it walked by. Researchers who studied this discovered that tracking activates the brain in much the same way reading a text does. The trackers use rapid eye movements and fixations to pull tiny details out of a chaotic background, then build a complete mental story of an animal they have never even seen. It is literacy, just written in footprints instead of letters. When the kill is made, the meat is not claimed by the person who shot the arrow. It belongs to whoever owned the arrow. And since arrows are constantly traded and gifted, even to women and non-hunters, this guarantees that protein gets spread fairly across the whole group. It is a brilliant social technology, disguised as a hunting rule. High in the Hindu Kush Mountains, in 3 remote valleys, lives Pakistan's smallest religious minority. Only 3,000 to 4,000 people remain. Surrounded by a conservative Islamic region, the Kalash practice an ancient polytheistic religion full of gods, mountain fairies, and nature spirits. Many of them have light skin, blonde or auburn hair, and blue or green eyes, which led to a centuries-old legend that they were descended from the lost soldiers of Alexander the Great. It is a romantic story. It is also wrong. Modern genetic testing revealed something far stranger. The Kalash are not the descendants of anyone passing through. They are an ancient, isolated, aboriginal population who diverged from other South Asian groups roughly 12,000 years ago. Since then, they have lived in such extreme isolation, with so little genetic mixing, that they are essentially a frozen genetic snapshot of an ancient world. Their entire society runs on a concept of pure and impure. The high mountains, the juniper, the goats, and the men are considered pure. The valleys, Outsiders and women during certain biological times are considered impure. Because of this, women spend their menstruation and childbirth in a communal house called the bashali, set near the river away from the village. Men are forbidden from even touching its walls. But inside, the women are free from chores. They rest, work, and socialize together until a purification ritual allows them to return home. Their marriage customs are unusually free as well. A woman can leave her husband for another man, even if she is already married. The new husband simply has to pay a double bride price back to the former one. And in a region where alcohol is forbidden, the Kalash openly grow vineyards and ferment their own wine, which plays a central role in their festivals and hospitality. In the mountains of South Sulawesi live a people with perhaps the most striking relationship with death on Earth. For the Toraja, death is not a sudden event. It is a slow journey. When a person's heart stops, they are not considered dead. They are considered sick or sleeping. The body is preserved and kept inside the family home, sometimes for months, sometimes for years. During this time, the family brings the deceased food, talks to them, and treats them as a living member of the household. When the family can finally afford it, they hold the Rambu Solo, an enormous funeral that can last for days or weeks, drawing hundreds or even thousands of guests. The centerpiece is the sacrifice of water buffalo, which the Toraja believe the deceased will ride into the afterlife. The most prized animal is a rare black and white buffalo with blue eyes, called the Tadong Bonga, which can sell for tens of thousands of dollars, making it some of the most expensive livestock on the planet. Think about that. In our world, we save for a house or retirement. In Toraja, people save their entire lives for their funeral. They do not bury their dead in the ground. They carve tombs high into limestone cliffs, believing that placing the dead higher up brings them closer to heaven. Guarding these graves from carved balconies are the Tau Tau, life-sized wooden statues made to resemble the deceased, dressed in their clothing, eternally watching over the living. And then there is the Manene ritual. Every few years in August, families open the tombs, remove their mummified ancestors, clean them, groom them, and dress them in new clothes. Far from being morbid, it is a joyful reunion, a way of staying connected to the people they loved. Perhaps the most poignant tradition is reserved for infants who die before growing their first teeth. The baby is placed inside a hollowed-out hole in a living tara tree and sealed with palm fiber. The tree's white sap is seen as breast milk, and as the tree heals and grows around the child, the soul is believed to be absorbed back into living nature. You have almost certainly seen images of the long-neck women. The Kayan are an ethnic minority from Myanmar, many of whom now live as refugees in Thailand, famous for the heavy brass coils worn around the necks of their women. But the most common belief about them is completely false. The rings do not stretch the neck. That is anatomically impossible without killing the person. What actually happens is that the immense weight of the coils, which can reach about 20 pounds, pushes the collarbones and the upper ribs downward, compressing the entire shoulder structure. This creates the visual illusion of an elongated neck. Girls receive their first coils around age 4 or 5, and the coils are replaced with longer, heavier ones as they grow. Here, I have to be honest with you, because the research tells a sobering story. Medical studies comparing women who wear the coils to those who do not found real physical costs. The constant pressure deforms the spine and can fuse vertebrae together. It reduces blood flow, restricts the lungs so that the women struggle to breathe deeply, and even lowers blood flow to the brain. Their bodies show elevated markers of chronic stress and inflammation. Beauty in this tradition comes at a genuine physical price. There is also a complicated modern reality. After fleeing conflict in Myanmar, many Kayan ended up in Thai refugee villages that became tourist attractions. Tourism provides desperately needed income for stateless people, but human rights groups have criticized these setups as human zoos, where women feel pressured to wear the coils for money rather than tradition. Today, with better access to education, more young Kayan women are choosing not to wear them at all. In the high Karakoram mountains of northern Pakistan live the Hunza, a people wrapped in one of the most persistent myths in the world. For decades, they were sold to the West as a real-life Shangri-La, a people who supposedly lived to be 120 or even 150 years old, free of disease, kept young by apricots and mineral-rich glacial water. It is a beautiful story. It is also almost entirely false. A physician named Dr. John Clark lived among them, treated thousands of patients, and carefully investigated the longevity claims. The Hunza had no written birth records. They estimated their age based on wisdom and social standing, not calendars. When he measured actual age through things like dental wear, those supposed 150-year-olds turned out to be between 60 and 75. Far from disease-free, they suffered from malaria, dysentery, parasites, and severe iodine deficiency. But the Hunza are still genuinely fascinating, just for the real reasons rather than the mythical ones. Their language, Burushaski, is a language isolate, meaning it has no known connection to any other language on Earth. Their valley sits over 8,000 feet up, and because their farms are carved into steep cliffsides, simply living their daily life requires constant, intense physical exertion. That is the real secret to their fitness. Not magic water, but a lifetime of climbing mountains. And culturally, they are remarkably progressive. As Ismaili Muslims who value education and equality, they have achieved nearly 100% literacy among the young, and women run businesses and pursue careers. Deep in the Amazon rainforest of eastern Ecuador live the Waorani, a people who defended their territory with absolute ferocity for centuries. They lived in total self-imposed isolation until 1958. Before that, outsiders who crossed into their land were often killed with spears, including 5 American missionaries in 1956. In their language, the world is divided simply into the Waorani, meaning the people, and the Kawoti, meaning outsiders or non-people. The Waorani are extraordinary tree climbers, and their bodies have adapted to it over generations. Many have wide, splayed feet for gripping smooth trunks. More remarkably, research on tree climbing peoples shows they develop unusually long calf muscle fibers, allowing them to bend their ankles to angles comparable to a chimpanzee, so they can plant their feet flat against a vertical trunk. This keeps their body close to the tree and dramatically reduces the energy needed to climb. For hunting in the high canopy, they use blowguns up to 9 feet long, firing darts tipped with curare, a neurotoxin that paralyzes their prey. Cleverly, curare is only deadly in the bloodstream and is harmless when eaten, so the meat stays perfectly safe. But today, the Waorani are best known for something else entirely. They have become frontline defenders of the Amazon. Their land sits on top of massive oil reserves. In 2019, led by a Waorani woman named Nemonte Nenkimo, who was later named one of the most influential people in the world, the tribe won a landmark lawsuit against the Ecuadorian government. The court ruled that the consultation process had been deceptive and had failed to even translate concepts into the Waorani language. That victory permanently protected 500,000 acres of rainforest and set a powerful precedent for indigenous rights across South America. If you have watched this far, it means you really care. Do not just stop at the like button, click hype as well. It only takes a few seconds, but it helps this video reach many times further. In the lowland Amazon of Bolivia live the Tsimane, who have earned a stunning title. They have the healthiest hearts ever recorded in any human population. Scans show that nearly 9 out of 10 Tsimane adults have completely clear arteries. An 80-year-old Tsimane typically has the arteries of an American in their mid-50s. And this is where it gets confusing for modern diet culture, because their diet breaks all our rules. About 72% of their calories come from carbohydrates, things like plantains and cassava. Only 14% comes from fat, yet their hearts are pristine. The lesson is that carbohydrates are not the enemy when they are unprocessed and paired with a genuinely active life. But there is a fascinating trade-off, and it is called the parasite paradox. Roughly 70% of the Tsimane carry intestinal parasites like hookworms for most of their lives. These parasites actually calm and modulate the immune system, reducing the chronic, low-grade inflammation that drives heart disease and autoimmune disorders in the modern world. Their suffering, in a strange way, may be protecting them. A study in 2025 even confirmed that the Tsimane largely escape what scientists call inflammaging, the steady rise in inflammation that the rest of us experience as we age. When researchers compared them to a neighboring group that had adopted a modern lifestyle, that group showed the classic inflammation of aging, and the Tsimane did not. Sadly, this is changing. As roads and market towns reach them, processed food is arriving. Researchers found that cooking oil in particular is driving weight gain, and the first signs of modern disease are beginning to appear. The Moken have lived a boat-based life in the Andaman Sea off the coasts of Myanmar and Thailand for centuries, in many ways treating the ocean as their true home. And their children possess one of the most astonishing abilities I have ever come across. They can see clearly underwater with their naked eyes. On land, water normally blurs human vision badly, but Moken children do two things at once. They constrict their pupils to an extreme degree, creating a pinhole camera effect, and they reshape their eye lenses to the absolute physical limit of what a human eye can do. The result is double the underwater clarity of a European child. And here is the part that should give you chills. This is not genetic. When researchers trained European children to dive over several months, they developed the exact same ability. This power is latent inside all of us. We simply never learn to use it. The Moken are also extraordinary free divers, holding their breath for minutes and descending over 60 feet with nothing but handmade wooden goggles. Their entire culture is built around the present moment. Their language has no words for deep future anxiety, precise age, or hoarding. They share everything immediately because hoarding is seen as a social offense. But the most haunting story is what happened in 2004. When the Indian Ocean tsunami struck, the Moken suffered almost no casualties despite being directly in its path. This was not luck. Their oral folklore tells of the laboon, the wave that eats people, and warns that if the sea suddenly pulls back, you must run for high ground immediately. They read the signs the ancestors taught them and fled to the hills long before the waves arrived, surviving a disaster that killed hundreds of thousands of people in the modern world. Ancient knowledge saved them, where modern infrastructure failed. Today, like nearly every tribe on this list, the Moken are in crisis. Many are legally stateless, belonging to no country. National park rules now forbid them from cutting the trees they need to build their traditional boats, forcing them off the water and into low-wage tourism work. Which of these incredible cultures fascinated you the most? And what do you think our modern society needs to learn from them? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this journey eye-opening, please hit that like button, share this video with someone who loves exploring the world, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss our next deep dive into the extremes of human biology and history. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. You are standing in the middle of a shopping mall, bustling with people walking by. It feels completely normal. But the cameras recording you right now have witnessed things that would send shivers down your spine. Today, we will be going over 15 of the most disturbing, shocking, and unsettling incidents ever caught on security cameras at shopping malls. Some are crimes, some are accidents, some remain not fully explained. And after watching this video, You will never look at shopping malls the same way again. March 31st, 2016. The King of Prussia Mall in Pennsylvania, one of the largest shopping malls in the entire United States. A mother named Asir Simmons was in the food court with her crying 7-week-old son. She got distracted by a phone call. A nearby woman, who looked completely harmless, offered to hold the baby for her. The mother agreed. In just a brief moment, the woman turned around and disappeared into the crowd. Surveillance camera footage showed her walking out through the parking lot completely calmly. Then, she vanished. A manhunt was launched immediately after, and 5 hours later, the police tracked her down in Tredyffrin Township. The suspect was 32-year-old Cherie Amour, who had fabricated an entire pregnancy story. She told her family that she had given birth to a baby boy in February and bought a lot of items for a child that did not exist. She was later tried under the law, but received mitigating circumstances because she suffered from a personality disorder. What makes this footage so haunting is its normalcy. A woman holding a baby in a crowded mall. No one around her knew that a crime was taking place right in front of so many people. Would you have let a seemingly harmless stranger hold your baby in a crowded mall? Or are you always on high alert? Let me know below. The following footage was recorded at the Esselunga supermarket in Bergamo, Italy. A mother and her 1-year-old daughter were standing near the exit of the store. A stranger appeared. Then, without warning, he snatched the child and tried to run away. The mother then fought back fiercely with all her might. She wouldn't let go. She screamed. People nearby rushed over. The struggle was chaotic and frightening. Italian National Police quickly arrived and arrested the suspect. He was charged with attempted kidnapping and aggravated assault. The child was immediately taken to a local hospital and diagnosed with a fractured femur resulting from the violent struggle. This footage debunks one of the most dangerous misconceptions parents often have when out in public: the belief that being right next to their child means their child is safe. In a brightly lit, crowded shop, in broad daylight, a thief tried to snatch a 1-year-old girl from her mother's arms. A mother's instincts saved her daughter's life. This incident occurred on July 18, 2025, at the Fair Oaks Mall in Virginia, and it sparked a fierce political firestorm. A 3-year-old girl wandered away from the indoor play area for a moment when her father was distracted. A 26-year-old man named Andres Cáceres Jaldín walked right up, picked her up, and carried her away. No one stopped him, because they did not notice anything unusual. He walked calmly, carrying a little girl in his arms, and everyone around thought it was just a father and his young daughter. The mother, who was shopping at a nearby JCPenney store, also rushed to look for her child when her husband notified her. She found Jaldín on the 2nd floor, still holding her daughter. She confronted him. He handed the baby back and said he was trying to help the little girl find her parents. The little girl was not physically harmed, but the terrifying thing is that Cáceres Jaldín had over 30 prior criminal convictions in Fairfax County. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia. He had previously been charged with causing serious injury and assaulting his own family members, and he had just been released from the Fairfax County Jail a mere 3 days before this incident. If you think this video deserves more attention, please click the hype button below. Each hype will help this video get recommended more often. April 27, 2026. Bonnie Doon Shopping Center in Edmonton, Canada. Just after 3:20 p.m., a dark-colored SUV pulled up near the entrance of a jewelry store. One person stayed in the vehicle. 4 masked individuals walked straight into the store. As soon as they entered, the staff were ordered to get on the ground. A male customer was thrown to the floor. This group systematically smashed the glass display cases and took as much merchandise as possible. The entire process took place in just about 60 seconds. They ran back to the waiting SUV and the vehicle immediately sped off. Fortunately, no one was seriously injured or killed. Only one woman suffered minor injuries from broken glass shards. No weapons were used. No arrests have been made yet. What the footage captured was the intense shock when the intruders barged in. One moment, it was a quiet afternoon in a jewelry store. The next moment, 4 masked men were destroying everything around you. The psychological impact of such sudden, extreme violence in a small space is not something that fades easily. This image has a cinematic quality that makes it feel almost unreal, but it is actually entirely real. June 15, 2023, Northridge, California. Around 4 a.m., a convoy of 4 cars stopped in front of a shopping mall. At least 8 masked individuals stepped out. One of them was wearing a Jason Voorhees hockey mask. Another was carrying what looked like a chainsaw or a circular saw. They acted professionally and with a clear plan. They took about $20,000 in cash from the ATMs and cash registers, along with a massive amount of lottery tickets. After that, they immediately moved on to a neighboring barber shop, broke down the door with heavy-duty tools, and stole thousands of dollars worth of equipment, cash, and hair clippers. The whole operation took about 4 minutes. Business owners noted an extremely methodical level of organization. The deliberate use of horror masks and heavy machinery was not just practical, but also psychological. It was designed to instill terror. It is clear that this location had been scouted beforehand. On a day in 2007, at the Wafi Mall in Dubai, around 10 p.m., 2 stolen luxury cars, a black Audi sedan and a white one, smashed right through the glass doors of the mall. They drove down the marble-paved walkways until they reached the Graf jewelry store. Men dressed in black commando gear and wearing balaclavas emerged. They used handguns and pickaxes to systematically destroy the display cases. They got away with about $3.5 million worth of diamonds. They vanished in under 45 seconds. Later, these vehicles were found burned out to destroy forensic evidence. The culprits were the Pink Panthers, an international jewel thief network largely comprised of paramilitary veterans from the brutal wars in Eastern Europe in the 1990s. They are believed to have carried out hundreds of robberies across 35 countries, stealing a total of over $500 million. The footage from the Wafi Mall is very distinct. There was no panic in their movements, not a bit of hesitation. Every action was perfectly calculated. Watching this footage feels more like watching a military operation than a criminal case. Did the first few cases interest you? Quickly hit the like button on the video so we know we're doing a good job. Now let's go back to the list and discover the next cases. September 21, 2013. The Westgate Mall in Nairobi, Kenya. Right after the lunch hour, 4 heavily armed militants belonging to Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda-linked group, stormed into the crowded mall and began opening fire. No one was prepared. Within just a few minutes, as everything unfolded, bystanders frantically tried to scatter and find a way out. The attack lasted for 80 hours. By the time it ended on September 24th, 71 people had been killed. More than 175 others were severely injured. Afterwards, Al-Shabaab claimed responsibility, stating the attack was in retaliation for Kenya military operations in Somalia. Surveillance camera footage captured the attackers moving systematically between the floors. They casually talked on their cell phones, stopped to pray, and carried supplies taken from the stores. Meanwhile, terrified civilians hid in the shadows, listening to sporadic executions and intense firefights between the terrorists and Kenyan security forces. December 21, 2024, 4 days before Christmas. At the Killeen Mall in Texas, the parking lot was packed. The stores were jammed with people. Families were everywhere. A 53-year-old man named John Darrell Schultz from Kempner, Texas, fled from the police in his car after reports of reckless driving on the highway. The pursuit lasted about 11 minutes on the highway. Then, Schultz exited the highway, driving into the mall-crowded parking lot. He did not stop once inside. He kept on driving. Through the retail area, through the display counters, through the aisles where families were shopping for Christmas gifts. Pursuing police right behind him were forced to open fire to subdue the driver. Schultz was hit, crashed into a store, and died at the scene. The pursuit ended, but 5 innocent shoppers had been injured. Bodycam and dashcam footage captured the entire incident. The man's recklessness and madness caused heavy damage to those around him and to himself. A structurally similar incident, but fortunately less lethal, occurred in Melbourne, Australia, and the video capturing that scene is truly terrifying. Around 4 p.m. on a Wednesday, police received a report of a stolen Toyota Land Cruiser, a large, heavy-duty SUV, spotted in the parking lot of the Northland Shopping Center. Officers arrived at the scene to locate the vehicle. The driver immediately rammed an unmarked police car multiple times to break the blockade. And then, instead of heading out to the street, he drove his car straight into the shopping mall. Surveillance camera footage showed this massive SUV navigating through the narrow corridors inside the mall. It drove right up against the stores, just inches away. The vehicle went right through the food court area, where people scrambled to get out of the way. It moved through the building, smashed through a second set of glass doors at the other end, and disappeared. About an hour later, the vehicle was found abandoned a few miles away. The driver had fled and gone into hiding, but he was arrested the following morning on undeniable charges. Please leave a comment and let me know if, while watching the video, your brain kept bracing for a catastrophic crash. But thankfully, it did not happen. In fact, this phenomenon is subconscious, so do not hesitate to share. November 2nd, 2025, the Fuente Shopping Center in Paraguay. A 68-year-old driver experienced a severe malfunction when his car gas pedal got stuck. The car accelerated out of control, barreled across the parking lot, smashed through the glass doors and windows of the mall entrance, and came to an abrupt stop, wedged right on the descending escalator inside the building. The car was left suspended on an indoor moving staircase. Both the driver and the 71-year-old passenger survived. The passenger sustained facial lacerations and impact injuries. Nearby staff and paramedics assisted them immediately. Later, a crane attempted to pull the car out but was unsuccessful. The security camera footage, capturing a full-size sedan stuck on a moving escalator, is one of the most surreal sights you will ever see. It looks like a bizarre dream, but it is entirely real, and it perfectly depicts the underlying nightmare of completely losing control of a vehicle in a crowded public place. This is truly a nightmare, when you are driving normally and suddenly you cannot stop, and there is nothing you can do about it. And that nightmare can absolutely become a reality. March 19th, 2025, Micmac Shopping Center in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. A shopper passing by the sunglass hut saw a man inside stuffing merchandise into a large bag. Before he could escape, a shopping center security guard intervened and tried to stop him at the store entrance. A fierce struggle ensued. The thief repeatedly tried to break free. The security guard held him tightly. Nearby shoppers stopped and watched. Some pulled out their phones and started filming. And right from the beginning of the video, you can clearly hear the security guard shouting, "There's no way this is happening under my supervision." The security guard successfully recovered the stolen goods. The suspect fled empty-handed. There is no information yet regarding arrest or prosecution. On January 1st, 2024, an event occurred at the Bayside Marketplace in Miami that sent the internet into a frenzy. Over 60 police cars swarmed this outdoor shopping center. Witnesses began sharing videos showing a giant gray figure moving erratically amidst the flashing lights of the police cruisers. Miami authorities released an official statement saying that this was to control a violent riot involving over 50 teenagers armed with sticks and fireworks. and the giant figure viewers saw was merely an optical illusion of two police officers standing next to each other. But the massive scale of the police response and the images that instantly went viral sparked conspiracy theories that the government was suppressing an alien event right in the middle of a major American city. Do you believe the official explanation? Leave your answer in the comments section. I really want to know. The Old Strathcona Antique Mall in Edmonton, Alberta, is a massive facility with over 300 individual booths selling historical artifacts and antiques. And according to staff, the security cameras there have captured things that no one can explain. Paintings fly off the walls on their own. A VHS tape of The Exorcist drops right onto a customer head. Unexplained shadowy figures move through the aisles after closing time. Disembodied voices are heard at night. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, from a psychological perspective, there is actually something very fascinating going on here. Antique malls are giant repositories of items with murky historical origins. The human brain is hardwired to attach narrative and emotional meaning to historically sourced objects. Stories of spirits clinging to such objects have been told for hundreds of years across dozens of different cultures. When you put hundreds of those objects into a dense, dimly lit, maze-like environment, the psychological expectation of creepiness will cause anyone stepping through those doors to interpret ordinary events as something more than that. The security footage from Strathcona has been widely analyzed online. Whether you believe in the paranormal or in the power of psychological conditioning, the atmosphere of that building is undeniable. We will wrap up this list with what is perhaps the most uniquely modern form of distress here. Because this is not about predators, criminals, or mysterious entities. This is about ourselves. About a week before this video was filmed, hundreds of people swarmed the Roosevelt Field Mall in East Garden City, Long Island, for the limited edition launch of a Swatch watch called Royal Pop, a collaboration between Swatch and the luxury brand Audemars Piguet. This watch retailed for over $400. It was only sold at select locations worldwide. The product release sparked chaos at stores all over the globe. Long Island was no exception. The crowd became so out of control that the Nassau County Police had to be called in. People started shoving the officers, ignoring direct orders to step back. The situation escalated into a chaotic stampede. Officers were surrounded and beaten by the mob. One officer was knocked down before pulling out his pepper spray and using it. 4 people were arrested. The store at Roosevelt Field was one of 19 Swatch stores to shut down that day for public safety reasons. The security footage capturing shoppers brawling and choking on chemical irritants all over a mass-produced watch is truly one of the most unsettling things on this list. Not because it is scary, but because it is so profoundly human, so obvious, and so recognizable. If you've watched this far, it means you're genuinely interested. Don't just like it, hype it up too. It only takes a few seconds, but it will help this video go much further. There you have it, 15 incidents caught on mall cameras, and the common thread connecting them all is one thing. Shopping malls are designed to make you feel safe. The bright lights, the ambient sounds, the crowds of strangers going about their daily lives. All of it is engineered to lower your guard. That is exactly what makes them vulnerable. The cameras in these buildings were never installed to record any of this. They were meant to catch shoplifters. But ultimately, they ended up becoming the most authentic evidence we have of what public spaces truly look like when the social contract breaks down. If this video made you feel uneasy, let me know which incident disturbed you the most in the comments section below. Do not forget to like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel to join me on our next explorations. And if you want to dive deeper into any of these cases, I will have more content that you will not want to miss. It just popped up on the screen right there. Quickly click on it and come explore with me. See you next time.
Every single day, More than 100,000 commercial flights move through the sky. Most of them land without a story. Passengers sleep, screens glow, nothing happens. But sometimes, a phone camera pointed out a window catches something it was never supposed to see. An object that should not exist. A machine failing in real time. A shape pressed against the wing in the dark. These are 20 moments captured by ordinary passengers at cruising altitude. Some have official explanations, some have none at all. All of them were recorded. Watch closely, then decide for yourself what you are actually looking at. A CRJ-700 regional jet is landing in heavy snow conditions. Aspen, Colorado is already one of the most difficult airports in the United States. High terrain, very short decision times. Now add a blizzard. Visibility drops sharply. The runway disappears into a hazy fog. Passengers film a wall of white outside the window. Inside the cockpit, the crew does something that sounds counterintuitive. They dim their own lights. But this is the right move, because light reflecting off the falling snow would blind the pilots. With the lights off, the runway lights become visible from 3 miles away. The plane descends through the storm, using instruments and faint points of light. The wheels touch the pavement. The passenger cabin erupts. From the passenger seat, it looks like landing inside a TV with no signal. For the crew, it is procedure. The remaining footage serves as proof that passengers rarely see what is actually keeping them alive. What is the most terrifying turbulence or landing you've ever experienced? Share your story in the comments below. October 2007. A small propeller plane is in flight. The footage, if real, shows what most people would consider impossible in real life. A skydiver standing on the wing of the plane, mid-air. He is in mid-air, balancing on a surface a few meters wide, fighting against the wind generated by the plane itself. A few meters away, the propeller spins at a deadly speed. Even a slight misstep could end everything instantly. For a few seconds, he holds his pose. The plane flies slowly, just slow enough to be survivable. His clothes are violently whipped by the wind. His body leans heavily into the slipstream. Then the wind wins. He is thrown off the wing and flung into thin air, where he deploys his parachute and falls. There are no reports from authorities. There is no official documentation of this stunt. There is only the footage and the question of why. Is this skill or recklessness? The footage offers no choice. The man falls out of frame. The airplane wing continues to fly, and the video ends. April 2020. In the skies over Johannesburg, South Africa. The global aviation industry is collapsing. South African Airways is facing the threat of bankruptcy after nearly a century of operation, and they have executed the most memorable flight in their own history. 2 Airbus A340-600s, 4 engines each, hundreds of tons each, flying in perfect formation at commercial speeds, their wingtips appearing to touch. This is not how passenger planes operate. To maintain a tight formation in machines of this size requires a precision that most pilots will never be asked to execute. These crews received special permission. The maneuver is a farewell to mark the end of an aviation legacy before these aircraft are retired. The footage shows the second plane holding its position, completely still relative to the camera, as the ground glides by underneath. There is no emergency. Just 2 giants flying side by side for the last time, captured by those who know exactly what it means. February 20, 2024. American Airlines Flight 1219, from Albuquerque to Chicago, cruising at 26,000 feet. Everything is proceeding normally. Then a passenger stands up and announces he wants to get off the plane. He approaches the emergency exit door over the wing. He pulls down the lever and cracks the protective cover. Physically, everyone on the plane is safe. At this altitude, the pressure difference forces the door into its frame with tons of force. No single person could open it. But his attempt causes a small crack in the seal. A roaring sound of rushing air floods the cabin. The sound alone is enough to panic the other passengers. 6 of them subdue him right in the aisle. They use duct tape and flex cuffs to secure his legs. The flight attendants secure the scene. The plane turns around and lands back in Albuquerque less than an hour after takeoff. Police forces board the aircraft. The man is taken for evaluation and faces federal charges. If you think this video deserves more attention, please click the hype button below. Each hype will help this video get recommended more often. January 5, 2024. Alaska Airlines Flight 1282. A Boeing 737 MAX 9 is climbing out of Portland, Oregon, passing 16,000 feet. Then a section of the fuselage suddenly separates. A door plug. A panel measuring about 2 feet by 4 feet, used to seal an unused emergency exit, is torn away into the dark night. Sudden depressurization. A gaping hole appears in the side of the plane. Loose items are sucked out into the darkness. Oxygen masks drop down. The force blows open the cockpit door and rips the headsets off both pilots. Passengers sitting next to the hole look straight out into the sky, held back only by their seatbelts. The crew descends to 12,000 feet and returns to Portland 35 minutes later. Everyone survives. Federal experts investigated and concluded that the cause was 4 bolts used to secure the panel that had not been installed. The missing door plug is found a few days later in the backyard of a teacher in Portland. February 20, 2021. United Airlines Flight 328 departs from Denver to Honolulu. A Boeing 777 carrying 241 people. A few minutes after takeoff, a fan blade inside the right engine snaps. The engine is torn apart. From the window seat, the sight becomes terrifying. The engine cowling is gone. The stripped engine on the wing is fully engulfed in flames, shaking violently at 13,000 feet. Passengers film it because there is nothing else they can do. Below, massive pieces of the engine cowling rain down on residential neighborhoods in Broomfield, Colorado, scattering debris over a 1-mile radius. One piece narrowly misses a house. On the plane, every passing second is incredibly critical. The pilots declare an emergency and bring the plane back to the ground in Denver 23 minutes after takeoff. No one is injured. After the incident, the official term used is a contained engine failure. The scene is absolutely terrifying. A Pakistan International Airlines flight is climbing to 35,000 feet. The cabin is pressurized, the temperature is moderate. Then, the ventilation system goes into reverse. Passengers film snow falling. Ice crystals swirl out of the overhead vents and float through the cabin. Frost forms inside a machine specifically built to prevent just that. A localized blizzard at cruising altitude in an enclosed space. The air conditioning system on an airplane is not supposed to allow this to happen under any conditions. Engineers reviewing the incident suggest the cause is a malfunction in the air conditioner or extreme humidity and pressure conditions crystallizing inside the ducts. No official explanation has been released for this snowfall phenomenon. The footage simply shows winter arriving inside a sealed metal tube 6 miles above the ground, while passengers hold up their phones in utter disbelief. If this video caught your attention, please hit the like button to let us know this content is making a difference. Now then, a 4-legged creature frozen in midair, as if gravity had forgotten its existence. What is that? Sometimes the most haunting footage is the simplest. A passenger films through the window. In the frame, suspended above the clouds, is a four-legged shape. Its proportions are very natural. A body resembling a horse or a reindeer. The details are sharp enough to rule out the possibility of a cloud formation. And it is not moving. It is not falling. It is not struggling. It stands completely still, as if gravity has been turned off for a specific coordinate and nothing else. There is historical precedent for strange silhouettes in the sky. In the 1850s, performers lifted live horses via hot air balloons in front of crowds. But this time there are no visible supports of any kind in the footage. Analysts have not reached a consensus. The footage went viral, has been debated, and has never been explained. About 40% of people report being afraid of flying. The percentage of people afraid of spiders is even higher. In 2016, on an Air Transat flight from Punta Cana to Montreal, both fears boarded the same plane. A passenger named Catherine Moreau was watching a movie. She felt something brush against her leg. She assumed it was a loose wire. She looked down. A large, hairy tarantula was crawling up her skirt. The cabin descended into chaos in mere seconds. Passengers screamed and climbed onto their seats. There was nowhere to go. The plane is designed to be airtight. The flight attendants issued an instruction, rarely heard at 35,000 feet. Put your shoes on. Cover your ankles. Before landing, a second tarantula was discovered, 2 of them roaming the aisles for the duration of the flight. How they got on the plane has never been fully confirmed. The leading theory is luggage. Somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean, the most dangerous thing on the plane is not the weather, nor the machinery. It is under the seat. Are you afraid of spiders? How would you feel if you were on that flight? March 2017. A domestic Raven-Alaska flight between Aniak and Anchorage. Small plane, short route. A young boy on the flight noticed a bright yellow duffel bag jammed under a seat. Then he noticed what was lying next to it. A snake. About 1.2 to 1.5 meters long, sleeping. The crew was notified of an undeclared passenger on board. The snake was not aggressive. It was not even awake. But it had to be moved. A flight attendant took on the task. She picked the snake up out of the corner with her bare hands and sealed it into a heavy-duty plastic bag for the remaining 90 minutes of the flight. The explanation came later. A passenger on an earlier flight had smuggled their pet on board. They got home, realized the snake was missing, and called the airline. An unbelievable story, but thankfully the snake slept through almost the entire ordeal. Continuing with a reptile passenger story. November 6, 2016. Mid-flight from Torreon to Mexico City. Passengers notice movement overhead. From the gap behind the overhead luggage compartments, a bright green snake slithers out. It is venomous. It dangles from the ceiling panel directly over the seats, gripping the gap, hanging above the passengers below. Then, it loses its grip. The snake drops down between the rows of seats. Passengers unbuckle their seatbelts and scramble away. A university rector named Indalecio Medina helped capture the animal using a blanket and stacked magazines. The pilots contact air traffic control and are given priority. The plane lands in Mexico City 10 minutes later, where animal control boards the aircraft and secures the snake. How it got on the plane remains undetermined. The airline announced new security measures against what they called stowaway snakes. A long-haul flight. The cabin lights are dim. A passenger glances a few rows ahead and freezes. A figure wearing a hoodie is facing him, staring right at him. It does not blink. It does not look away. The face is bizarre, elongated, unusual proportions, a single black eye, skin like a mask. He waits until the food cart blocks the view, then snaps a photo. The image goes viral in just hours. Millions of viewers all reach the same conclusion. That is not a human face. The truth is revealed, and it is stranger than the fear itself. That passenger had worn his hoodie backwards to sleep. The hood covered the back of his head. That single black eye staring back was actually a wireless earbud. The folds of the ear formed what looked like a nose and mouth. The brain did the rest. Pattern recognition, misfiring under low light conditions and stress, created a monster out of clothing and electronics. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. But for the people sitting nearby that night, the fear was absolutely real. After seeing it, what do you think this image looks like? Does it really look like a person sleeping with a backwards hoodie and a wireless earbud on their head? Somewhere in Russia, a passenger films a shadow cast across the sky. The shape is unmistakable, a humanoid figure with outstretched wings, colossal, distinct. Normal cloud shadows drift with the wind. This shadow moves with clear purpose, according to the eyewitness. Its speed does not match the surrounding air currents. Then there is a detail that breaks the laws of physics. The witness reports that the shadow emits light, an inversion of how shadows work. Atmospheric science has tools for moments like this. The projection of an aircraft onto cloud layers, optical scattering, a rare alignment of the sun and water vapor. None of this is confirmed here. The humanoid shape appears suddenly, crosses the sky far too quickly for the weather, and vanishes just as fast. For some viewers, it is an optical phenomenon. For others, it is something more ancient. Protection, a message, a witness in the sky. The footage does not support any single viewpoint. It simply shows a winged shape made of light, moving against the wind, and then disappearing. Optical illusion or guardian angel? Tell us what you think. Cast that massive, glowing shadow in the comments. The footage is archival material, rediscovered decades after being shot from a low-flying aircraft over the vast ocean. Beneath the surface of the water, a dark shadow is moving, very fast, faster than the camera operator can comfortably track. Its shape is the real issue. It is highly flexible. It expands and contracts rhythmically as it moves, like something breathing. No fins, no tail, no confirmed anatomical structure. It has been suggested to be a whale, but the movement does not match. It has also been suggested to be a submarine. But the mass is too large, and submarines do not operate with a pulse. Every plausible explanation fails on at least one detail. The silhouette does not belong to any catalogued species. The camera struggles, the object overruns the frame, and the footage goes grainy. There are no coordinates attached to the footage. There is no second sighting at the same location, because no one knows where that location is. There is only a fragmented clip of a massive object moving underwater at high speed. In the footage, a witness captures a pitch-black object flying across the sky. It is not an airplane, not a helicopter, not a drone. It has no rigid frame. Its shape bends and distorts as it moves, shifting its form in midair. No wings, no mechanical movement whatsoever. Some analysts reviewing the footage have proposed a disturbing theory. It is not a vehicle at all, a biological entity, something alive, unclassified, uncatalogued. A commercial flight is flying over Mexico. A passenger looks out the window and starts filming. Stretching across the sky is a long, dark shape, flying parallel to the plane at an alarmingly close distance. Many theories suggest it's a trail of black smoke from an aircraft. But the explanation raises a serious problem. How serious must the aircraft have been, with problems in both engines, to create such long black trails? Did the flight land safely? The video may have captured a terrifying sight or an unexplained mysterious object. If these unbelievable aviation moments are keeping you on the edge of your seat, take a quick second to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with a friend who loves a good mystery. At an altitude of about 2,700 meters, a fighter pilot captures footage of an object zipping past his jet at close range. It is small, dark, and disc-shaped. He describes it as a black barrel-like object. In one frame, it is close enough to suggest structure. Thin appendages, possibly dangling from its underside. Never confirmed. No wings, no exhaust. It passes by in total silence and vanishes. No radar signature, no interception. Years later, on April 24, 2024, the civilian version happens. Passenger Michelle Reyes is landing at LaGuardia Airport in New York when she films a dark cylindrical object darting past her airplane window against the city skyline. She reports the incident to the Federal Aviation Administration out of safety concerns. She receives no response. Her father, a Navy veteran, reviews the video and cannot identify the object. A drone flying that close to a passenger plane near LaGuardia would be a severe federal crime. Independent analysis finds no signs of digital manipulation and estimates the object is at an altitude of 7,700 meters. Later, a second passenger on the same flight contacts Reyes. She saw it too. 2 witnesses. No answers. August 2018. A commercial flight is cruising at over 35,000 feet in the skies above Kumamoto, Japan. A passenger films an object resting on top of the cloud layer, a massive, dark, vertical structure with sharp edges, roughly the size and shape of a skyscraper. It does not drift with the clouds. It does not move at all. The witness describes it as enormous, a giant monolith. The first official explanation quickly emerges, volcanic ash, but it immediately falls apart. There were no eruptions anywhere near that area on that day. Next is the rocket launch theory. There were no scheduled launches, and there is no smoke trail, no sign of exhaust, no residue at all. The structure simply stands above the clouds, unaffected by the intense swirling winds that would tear apart any vapor column. It remains visible until the plane descends below the cloud deck. Its scale is what leaves analysts most puzzled. Such a massive object is nearly impossible to fake convincingly, and practically impossible to explain honestly. Some now refer to it as the largest unidentified object ever caught on film. No object of this size has ever been filmed twice. The most controversial object in modern aviation. White, smooth, elongated, shaped like a breath mint, first brought to light through military encounters, including the 2004 Nimitz Carrier Strike Group incident. But this footage comes from a commercial airline passenger. The object spins continuously while moving erratically within a confined area of the sky. It does not fly. It translates. It appears in one location, then another, with no clear transition between them. No acceleration, no deceleration, no trajectory. Conventional aircraft cannot move this way. The G-forces would destroy any airframe and kill any pilot. Skeptics point to optical effects. Unfocused light sources can distort images on a camera. But this footage contains one detail that defies that explanation. A shadow, cast on the clouds below, shifts in perfect alignment with every movement of the object. Shadows with precise physics are incredibly difficult to fabricate. One theory goes further than the rest. A malfunctioning craft, jumping between positions because something in its technology is glitching. If that is what a malfunction looks like, imagine what it looks like when operating normally. If you've watched this far, it means you're genuinely interested. Don't just like it, hype it up too. It only takes a few seconds. but it will help this video go much further. 20 recordings. Some have been explained. Mechanical failures, identified as missing bolts and metal fatigue. Illusions, identified as a backward hoodie and the parallax effect. But the rest remain as intact as they initially were, unexplained. So, the question goes to you. Which footage do you believe is real, and which will fall apart under close scrutiny? Share your thoughts in the comments section. If this is the kind of evidence you are looking for, hit like, share, and subscribe to the channel, because the next archive is already assembled. Next, I will take you to explore the mysterious moments captured by airport security cameras. It will certainly be just as enigmatic. Quickly click on the video appearing on the screen to come with me.
A mysterious object falls from the clear blue sky and penetrates the airport defense system. A woman repeatedly boards international flights without a ticket, time and time again. A young man runs out of the terminal in sheer terror and disappears into a field, never to be seen again. And on live television, a woman standing right in front of everyone suddenly vanishes. These are 20 mysterious moments captured by airport security cameras. At Kuwait International Airport, the camera points at a normal scene. The sky is clear blue, cars are parked in the parking lot, and passengers move through the lounge like any normal afternoon. Then, the footage shows a dark object falling from the wide-open sky at terrifying speed. It crashes into the radar dome and explodes into a massive fireball. There was no warning. No alarm bells, and no one in the frame had time to react. The shockwave spread outward and shook the cars in the parking lot below. A moment later, a thick, pitch-black cloud of dust and smoke spread across the terminal, and the brightly lit lounge turned into a black void in just a second. The entire event lasted about 45 seconds. Some people suggest it looked like a drone attack, while others think the object moved strangely. What is harder to explain is how an object with such destructive power could penetrate a modern radar network in broad daylight. Based solely on the footage, all you can say is what the camera recorded. What you are looking at might seem like normal, unremarkable airport footage at first glance, but it captures a woman famous for sneaking onto airplanes. Her name is Svetlana Dali, a Russian citizen with American nationality. The first time was in 2024 at JFK Airport. Somehow, she managed to board a Delta flight to Paris without going through standard security checks. According to reports, she blended into the crowd of passengers, walked normally, and passed through the boarding gate without anyone noticing. After boarding, she did not take a seat. She stayed in the restroom for most of the flight and was only discovered after landing in France. She was arrested and convicted in 2025 for stowing away on an aircraft. But the story did not stop there. Later, she removed her electronic ankle monitor to go on the run again, but was intercepted near the Canadian border. Then in 2026, she sneaked onto another international flight from the New York and New Jersey area to Europe and was apprehended after landing in Milan. When the incident went viral, the online community was deeply concerned because if she had any malicious or terrorist intentions, things would have been catastrophic. What do you think about this case? Have you ever thought about sneaking on a flight like her? Honestly, tell me down below in the comments because there are probably many people like you. A 43-year-old woman named Jennifer Talbot attempted to kidnap an infant at an airport in the Philippines. According to local police, she was trying to take the baby out of the country. The child was only 6 days old and had no travel documents. Talbot had placed the baby in a sling and passed through immigration control without declaring anything. She was arrested and charged with human trafficking, a crime that carries a potential life sentence in the Philippines. Investigators said she met the baby's biological mother online, a woman who claimed she wanted to put her child up for adoption. Both biological parents now face human trafficking charges, and the baby has been handed over to social welfare agencies. Talbot, who has 5 children and no criminal record back home, has sought help from the U.S. Embassy. This case could drag on for years. A similar case happened when a 5-month-old child was smuggled from Karachi to Dubai in a carry-on bag and was found safe. In 2014, a man named Lars Mittank went on vacation with his friends in Bulgaria. A normal trip turned into one of the most mysterious disappearances. During the trip, Lars got into an altercation with some other tourists over a soccer game and was assaulted to the point of a ruptured eardrum. A doctor warned him not to fly immediately due to air pressure, so his friends boarded the plane back home first. That night, he called his mother in a panicked voice, telling her that 4 men were following him and trying to kill him. The next morning, he went to see the airport doctor for a medical checkup before flying. While he was being examined, a construction worker entered the room, and for some unknown reason, Lars panicked. He left his wallet, passport, and luggage on the table and ran out. Cameras captured him running across the parking lot, climbing over a fence, and disappearing into a sunflower field. He was never seen again. If you think this video deserves more attention, please click the hype button below. Each hype will help this video get recommended more often. In 2010, at Suvarnabhumi Airport in Bangkok, a woman was preparing to fly to Iran with a suitcase packed tightly with stuffed tigers. But security screeners noticed something unusual about the suitcase, so they held it back for a closer inspection. When the officers opened it up, mixed in among the stuffed tigers was a real tiger, a 3-month-old tiger cub that had been sedated and arranged to blend in with the fake ones. The woman insisted she did not know what was inside her luggage. Authorities did not believe her story. She was arrested and faced Thailand's strict penalties for wildlife smuggling, including hefty fines and prison time. The tiger was later sent to a wildlife conservation center in Bangkok. What the footage actually captures is the moment a bag full of toys turned out to be concealing a living, breathing animal. On January 31, 2025, horrifying footage captured an air ambulance flying in heavy fog and rain. There were 6 people on board: a captain, a co-pilot, a doctor, a paramedic, and a young patient being flown back to Mexico with her mother. The plane had taken off from Northeast Philadelphia Airport for a quick refueling stop in Missouri. But just 40 seconds after takeoff, the worst happened. The plane disappeared from radar, plunging to the ground at a speed of about 11,000 feet per minute. Air traffic controllers stated that the pilots communicated with the control tower until the final seconds, but they never issued a distress signal or reported any malfunctions. The plane crashed next to a local shopping center. The horrific crash instantly killed everyone on board, killed 2 people on the ground, and injured 23 others. 4 houses were destroyed, and 17 other buildings were damaged. Have you ever thought there would be a case of someone being killed by getting hit by an airplane? This incident occurred at Denver International Airport. A Frontier Airlines flight was taking off late at night. A pedestrian somehow bypassed the airport security fence and entered the runway area despite having no authorization to be in that zone. He crossed the runway just as the plane began taxiing for takeoff, and the aircraft struck him at high speed. This was truly a horrifying scene. The flight was forced to stop immediately, and passengers were urgently evacuated from the plane. There were no other casualties, but the economic consequences were obvious. Reports stated this person climbed over a 2.4-meter-high security fence and reached the runway in just minutes, and exactly how he managed to get there is still under investigation. The video taken at an airport in Thailand in 2017 attracted a massive amount of attention on the internet. It shows a group of passengers walking down what appears to be a very normal jet bridge. But did you notice it? There is absolutely no airplane attached to the bridge. Some commenters linked these images to a tragic accident at this airport in 2007, when a 12Go Airlines flight crashed, killing about 90 people. But some skeptics simply argued that it was just a reflection from the shiny glass walls of the bridge, an optical illusion created by the camera angle and lighting. Both explanations have their supporters, and the video is short enough that it cannot completely resolve the question either way. The heated debate has reached no conclusion. What do you think you are seeing here? Are they ghosts or just an illusion? On March 22, 2016, 3 men took a taxi from an apartment to the Brussels airport. The driver noticed their suitcases giving off a chemical smell in the car, but he did not pay much attention to it at the time. At 7:58 a.m. that morning, 2 explosions occurred in the departure hall 9 seconds apart, both in the check-in area. These men carried large suitcases filled with explosives. Surveillance cameras later showed the 3 of them pushing luggage carts through the terminal, and people noticed something strange. 2 of them were wearing a single black glove on their left hand, which investigators believe was to hide the detonators. A third device was brought in, but did not detonate. One of the men, Mohammed Abrini, left the airport before the explosions occurred and abandoned his device. About an hour later, a 4th attacker detonated a device on the subway. A total of 32 people were killed, 16 at the airport and 16 on the subway, and over 300 people were injured. The taxi driver heard the news on the radio, went straight to the police station, and led them to the apartment where he picked up the men. Police found multiple explosive devices and bomb-making materials there. Later, 2 of the 3 terrorists were arrested. During the investigation, police discovered that these terrorists were also involved in planning the November 2015 Paris attacks. We are halfway through these unbelievable moments. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and like this video to support the channel so we can keep bringing you content like this. The dashcam video of a truck driver during a normal and quiet shift. Suddenly, an airplane catches fire and plummets straight toward him. The incident occurred in November at the Muhammad Ali International Airport in Louisville, Kentucky. A UPS cargo plane encountered an issue right before takeoff. One of the engines caught fire and detached from the wing. The plane immediately lost balance and crashed into an industrial park near some warehouses and parking lots. Upon impact, it erupted into a massive fireball. The driver stood frozen as he witnessed this horrifying scene. Afterwards, he jumped out of the cabin and tried to keep a distance between himself and the flames, which had spread to nearby trucks and buildings. The explosion was intensified because the plane still had a lot of fuel. The tragic accident killed the flight crew, and the total death toll reached at least 12 people. At an airport in Colombia, a woman on her way to Madrid was stopped after a security scanner detected an object hidden in her hairstyle. Upon inspecting her hair, they found a small vial concealed in her hair extensions. They opened it, tested it right on the spot, and the results showed it was cocaine. The more closely they checked, the more they found. Multiple other vials and tubes were also hidden in her hair, all carefully attached and concealed within the volume of the hairstyle. What made this arrest even more bizarre was the timing. Around the same time, at another airport in Colombia, another woman was arrested for using the exact same trick. Drugs hidden in a voluminous hairstyle, and she was also flying to Madrid. In total, these 2 carried nearly 1.8 kilograms of cocaine. 2 women, 2 airports, the same method, the same destination, on the very same day. The officers did not think it was a coincidence. The next incident happened right on live television. A reporter is talking to a man while passengers walk by in the background, chatting and pushing luggage. The scene is very normal, and behind the people passing by, a blonde woman is standing. But as a luggage cart rolls past in front of her, she instantly disappears. She did not move at all, yet she vanished in a split second. There are no cuts in the video, no edits, no interruptions in the live stream. People have offered familiar explanations, saying the cart obscured her for a frame and she slipped away at just the right time, or that it was a trick of timing and perspective. However, when watched at normal speed, it really looks like she was there 1 second and gone the next. At the end of the video, I'll share something interesting that few people know. But before we continue, you can click hype to help this video reach more people. At an airport in the UK, as passengers were going through the standard security screening process, a man was suspected by security officers of hiding something due to his unusually high level of anxiety. A female officer approached and started asking routine questions. He answered no to all the questions. His luggage was also put through the scanner and X-ray machine, but nothing unusual was detected. Next, the female officer requested a full body scan of him because in many cases, prohibited items are hidden on the body instead of the luggage. The scan results revealed several packages concealed inside his body, and he was arrested on the spot for smuggling. The packages were later removed and confirmed to be cocaine. Officers estimated the amount to be around 1.85 kilograms. What is remarkable is that the luggage checked out completely clean, and it was solely a gut feeling that took the matter further. At an airport in Brisbane, Australia, a man from Colombia was stopped when border officers inspected his luggage and discovered a white powder. Given where he was flying to, they immediately suspected it was cocaine, and his story only added to that suspicion. He claimed he bought the bag in Colombia after his old bag got torn. While the officers were examining the bag, he became nervous and made an unusual request to call his wife. They then learned that he might not be traveling alone. Checking the manifest, a woman with the same last name on the same flight was flagged as a suspect, so security asked to re-inspect her luggage. The inspection revealed, when they drilled a small hole into the man's suitcase, a thick, wet substance at the bottom, sealed inside a layer of plastic. It was a gel-like substance rather than powder, valued at around $210,000, and tests confirmed it was cocaine. He was taken into custody. The woman's luggage had nothing unusual, and after a thorough inspection, she was allowed to leave. We only have 5 more mysterious moments to go. If this video has kept you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more wild weekly mysteries. In 2018, a Colombian man wore a massive wig to the airport. His plan, apparently, was to hide the goods on top of his head, in a place where scanners might not think to look. And he actually had 0.5 kilogram of cocaine as planned. Security officers spotted him almost immediately, partly because the wig was worn so high and was so bizarre that it stood out in the crowd. A brief search was all it took. This is one of those cases where a disguise meant to blend in completely backfired, turning him into the most memorable person in the terminal. The footage simply shows a man trying his hardest to look normal while wearing something that would guarantee people staring. At Gatwick Airport, a woman changed her clothes as soon as she passed through the security checkpoint. This action raised a security officer's suspicion because it was truly bizarre. When asked, she simply said it was a long trip and she wanted to change out of wet clothes. The explanation was not convincing enough for the security officer. He scanned both her bag and suitcase at the same time. The laptop in her bag looked unusual on the X-ray scanner. Unlike a normal machine, its components were not in the right places, and that prompted him to take a closer look. Behind the laptop screen, they found a hidden package that tested positive for cocaine. The drugs weighed about 0.9 kilograms. She remained strangely calm when discovered, but as she was being led away, her behavior changed. She cursed at the camera twice and let out a creepy laugh. This incident revolves around the Howard Beach station of JFK Airport, part of the subway line serving the airport, on September 20th, 2022. A career criminal with a history of violence carried out a brutal attack there that left a woman permanently blind in her right eye. He was later sentenced to 22 years in prison. What makes the case even darker is the timeline surrounding it. Less than a month before this attack, the same man had been charged in connection with his girlfriend's death. His violent history spans back to his teenage years, including assaults on family members and a fellow inmate while incarcerated. Due to the psychological trauma from the station attack, the victim stated she could not face him in court herself and instead submitted a written statement. She described the lingering emotional pain and the memories she is still struggling to overcome, and spoke about trying to stay strong for her children and for other women. He remains held without bail while the separate case continues to proceed. It's terrifying that someone with a violent history like his was walking freely through a transit station. Do you think the justice system is too lenient on repeat offenders? Share your thoughts below. At a checkpoint in Ceuta, a Spanish territory in North Africa, customs officers found something they never expected inside a leather suitcase. The suitcase belonged to a nervous 19-year-old woman who approached the customs counter and put it through the scanner. On the screen, the officers saw a strange shape, looking like a person curled up inside. Their suspicion grew, and they opened the suitcase immediately. Neatly packed inside was an 8-year-old boy named Abu from the Ivory Coast. The boy was sad, understandably, but looked healthy. The story behind it quickly unraveled. Desperate to bring his son to him and escape a difficult life back home, the boy father paid the young woman to smuggle the child across the border inside the suitcase. The father had been waiting anxiously nearby, and when the boy was discovered, he was arrested. What the scanner captured was the shape of a person where there should have only been luggage. At the Indira Gandhi International Airport in New Delhi, customs officers intercepted 2 Indian citizens and discovered something that prompted the National Anti-Terrorism Unit to get involved. Inside their luggage were 45 firearms, and according to investigators, these weapons appeared to be fully functional rather than fakes or spare parts. That alone made the incident highly serious, because having so many operational guns transported through a passenger terminal at once is extremely rare. At the same time, the Customs Department intercepted a separate diplomatic parcel related to a consulate, and inside, they found gold concealed within iron pipes, hidden so well that a quick glance would show nothing but water pipes. 2 very different types of contraband, guns and smuggled gold, turning up near each other at the same border. Footage and seizure records show what was found and where, but the full picture of who orchestrated this and why remains for the investigation to unravel. And that is why this case is still under review, as an open file rather than a closed one. So we have gone through 20 mysterious moments captured by airport security cameras. All of them were caught on camera. Some have solid explanations, and some do not. I have shown you what the footage reveals, frame by frame. The rest is up to you to decide. If you are wondering about anything, leave a comment and let me know which moment it is, and whether you think it is real, just a camera trick, or something we still cannot explain. Mysteries still abound. If you enjoy explorations like this, do not hesitate to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to join me on the next explorations. Next time, I will take you to explore terrifying things recorded by passengers themselves during flights. If you are also curious, click on the video that just appeared on the screen. This is the end of the video. See you, exactly you, in the next video. Are we truly living in multiple, different realities? From strange glitches in reality to moments our world overlaps with other worlds, you will witness the most compelling evidence ever recorded showing that our world is not what it seems. Skinwalker Ranch, located in northeastern Utah, is widely considered the most cursed land in America. For decades, Independent scientific groups and government-funded researchers have documented a series of unexplained phenomena on the property, including luminous lights hovering in the air, unexplained animal mutilations, and solid physical entities that seem to step out of glowing circular portals before vanishing into thin air. Using specialized equipment, investigators have recorded sudden and intense spikes in ionizing radiation that have caused illnesses in researchers, localized malfunctions in powerful electronic devices, and batteries draining in just seconds. The leading bold hypothesis is that the ranch sits on a portal, a permanent rift between our world and another. Skeptics will tell you it is just misidentified aircraft, swamp gas, and overactive imaginations feeding off each other. Maybe. But here is what gets me. These are not random people on the internet. These are trained observers and government-funded researchers. So either dozens of serious people are all fooling themselves in the exact same way, or they have found the one spot on Earth where you could quite literally walk into another universe. Do you think a ghost ship has to come from the afterlife? A man standing on the coast of southern England snapped a photo of a massive cargo vessel that appeared to be floating completely above the water. Not in the water, above it, hovering in open air like gravity had simply forgotten to show up for work. To a lot of people, this looked like the ultimate glitch in the Matrix, as if the simulation we live in had failed to load the ship correctly. Now, the scientists have an answer for this one, and it is actually a good one. They call it a superior mirage. It happens when a layer of freezing cold air sits right on the surface of the sea, with warmer air resting on top of it. That boundary between the two bends the light coming off the distant ship and tricks your brain into placing the ship way up high, above where it really sits. One night in 1997, thousands of residents across Phoenix, Arizona looked up and witnessed a strange phenomenon.
All right, you tell me what it is.
A massive V-shaped streak of light glided silently across the sky, so wide that witnesses claimed it stretched for miles, blocking out the stars behind it as it passed. It was not just one or two people who saw it. It was thousands of people, including pilots and police officers, all describing the same massive object moving silently and slowly through the air. The official explanation came later. The Air Force said the lights were just flares dropped by military aircraft during a training exercise. And you know what? Maybe some of the lights people saw later that night really were flares. But flares do not explain the enormous, silent, solid craft that thousands of people watched block out the sky. Flares fall. This thing glided. So what actually passed over Phoenix that night? A secret aircraft? Visitors from somewhere else? Or a piece of a reality that simply does not belong to ours, sliding into our sky for a few minutes before slipping back out? Let's discuss it below. And by the way, where are you watching this video from? In July 2008, 41-year-old Lorena Garcia woke up in Madrid and realized that reality had changed. Just slightly, but incredibly terrifyingly. It all started with her bedsheets being blue instead of the beige from the night before. Assuming it was just morning grogginess, she went to the workplace she had been at for 20 years, only to find her car parked in an unfamiliar spot, her nameplate gone from her office door, and she had been transferred to a completely different department under a boss she had never met. Panic set in. She tried to call her boyfriend of a few months, Augustine, who had been her emotional support after escaping a toxic relationship with her ex, Miguel. But the phone number of Augustine belonged to a stranger. He had no social media, no public records, and even her family had never heard of him. Instead, she returned home to find Miguel sitting on the couch, acting as if they had never broken up. A full psychiatric and neurological exam showed she was perfectly healthy, yet her personal history had been completely rewritten. Desperate, Lorena posted her story on an online forum, wondering if she had accidentally wandered into a parallel universe. And then, she vanished from the internet. which leaves us with a genuinely terrifying question. What do you do if you wake up in a life that is almost yours, and every record on Earth says you are the crazy one? In 2010, scientists at the European Space Agency, while analyzing data from the cosmic microwave background radiation, which is the remnant of thermal radiation left over from the recombination era, discovered 4 anomalous circular patterns. These structures, known as cosmic bruises, are thought to be physical scars from historic collisions between our universe and other bubble universes within a constantly expanding multiverse. This multiverse collision model gained significant support from empirical evidence in 2015, when cosmologist Ranga Ramchari analyzed the spectral variations of the cosmic background radiation. Chari systematically removed all known background emission sources from the Planck satellite data, including galactic dust, starlight, and molecular gas clouds. Instead of finding empty, isotropic spacetime, he found regions that were 4,500 times brighter than normal levels. His theory is that this excess light is leaking from a neighboring universe located right next to our own. So, the next time people tell you that the multiverse is just science fiction, remember that some very serious scientists are quietly wondering the exact same thing as you. This incident was broadcast live to an entire city and to this day remains unsolved. In 1987 in Chicago, someone hijacked the television signals of 2 major stations in a single night.
Which hadn't put up a sack in 12 quarters, finally did.
Viewers were watching normal programming when the screen suddenly cut to an image of a bizarre masked figure, head bobbing and twitching in front of a flickering background. For almost a minute and a half, the figure babbled in distorted, repetitive, and almost nonsensical sounds before the signal returned to normal. Hijacking television airwaves like that requires highly specialized equipment and skills. Authorities investigated very thoroughly. However, decades later, no one has ever been identified, arrested, or even definitively named. A masked figure broke into reality, said something no one understood, and slipped back into the static. It is not easy to dismiss it as a simple prank. Tap the like button to let us know this content is making a difference. And if you're watching on your phone, be sure to press the hype button right below. This story comes from the village of Woolpit in England, somewhere around the 12th century. Farmers found a young boy and girl standing at the edge of a field. Their skin had a green tint. Their clothes were made from a fabric nobody recognized. And they spoke a language no one had ever heard. At first, the children refused every kind of food the villagers offered them, except for one thing: raw beans. That was all they would eat. The boy eventually grew sick and died, but the girl survived. Slowly, her green color faded. She switched to a normal diet, and she learned to speak. And when she could finally explain where she came from, her answer was chilling. She said she and her brother came from a land of eternal twilight, where the sun never truly rose, a place she called St. Martin's Land. She stated that they were herding the cattle of their father when they heard a strange noise, followed it, and suddenly found themselves blinking in the bright sunlight of our world. An endless land of twilight, just one sound away. Some call it a fairy tale, others call it a tear between 2 realities. In 1977, a radio telescope at Ohio State University picked up something that has haunted scientists ever since. For exactly 72 seconds, a powerful signal came flooding in from deep space, far stronger and far cleaner than anything nature is supposed to produce. The astronomer on duty, Jerry Eman, was so stunned that he circled the reading on the printout and scribbled one word beside it: wow. And that is what we still call it today, the wow signal. The popular theory is that it came from intelligent alien life out there trying to say hello. But there is a stranger idea floating around. Some believe that whatever sent that signal slipped through a black hole into a completely different universe, and that for 72 seconds, a door cracked open between their reality and ours. Now, sure, the boring explanations are still on the table. Maybe it was a passing comet, maybe it was interference. But here is what keeps the mystery alive. That signal never repeated. It was never traced back to any source. And to this day, nobody has truly explained it. There is a street in Liverpool, England called Bold Street, and for decades, people have reported stepping off the modern sidewalk and finding themselves standing in the 1950s. The most famous case happened in 1996, when a retired police officer named Frank was out shopping with his wife. She went ahead to a bookstore, and when Frank caught up, the modern roadworks had vanished. A vintage delivery van marked Cardin's honked and rolled past him. The bookstore sign now read Crips. The people around him were dressed in 1950s clothing, hats and headscarves and all. He spotted one young woman in modern clothes, looking just as confused as he was. He walked into the shop, and instantly it snapped back to the present-day bookstore. The young woman turned to him and said, "That was strange. I thought it was a new clothes shop," and then walked off. Then there is the 2006 case. A teenager named Sean ducked into a dead-end alley to escape a security guard. He felt the air pressure drop and his chest tighten. When he stepped back out, the roadworks were gone. His phone lost all signal, and a newspaper at a kiosk was dated May 18, 1967. Terrified, he hurried off. His phone suddenly came back to life, and the world reverted to 2006. The guard later swore that Sean had simply vanished inside that empty alley. Historians later confirmed that Crips really was a shop at that exact spot in the middle of the 20th century, and Cardin's really did run delivery vans back then. So how did Frank see something he could not have possibly known existed? The wild theory is that the high-voltage rail loops running underneath Bold Street generate powerful magnetic fields that interact with the iron-rich rock below, tearing tiny rips in time. Imagine you are walking down a quiet street at night, completely unaware that you are about 3 seconds away from dying. In this CCTV footage, that is exactly what we see. Two men are walking, both in dark clothing, about the same height with similar hairstyles. The man in back catches up and taps the man in front on the shoulder right as a car passes by. And then, out of nowhere, a metal object swings out of the darkness, and the man who got tapped leaps out of the way just in time. If he had not been warned in that exact instant, it would have hit him square on. There is a lot to unpack here. The man who gave the tap never looked back. He never panicked. He stayed completely calm, almost like he already knew what was coming. And the second it was over, he hurried away as if he did not want anyone to see his face. So why the rush? The fun theory spreading online is that the man is a time traveler, possibly even a future version of the man he just saved, coming back to keep himself alive. In March of 2006, Carol McElhaney was driving through Southern California and decided to visit her grandparents' graves in Riverside, the town her family came from. It was pouring rain, and her windows were rolled up tight. And yet, out of nowhere, her car filled with the thick smell of cigar smoke, the exact smell of her late grandfather. Shaken but pulled by nostalgia, she drove to her old neighborhood, streets she knew by heart from childhood. But the houses were all wrong. Her old home, her grandmother's house, her aunt's house next door, all gone, replaced by strange, antiquated houses sitting at the very same addresses. Desperate for something solid to hold on to, she drove to the cemetery and finally felt relief. The iron gates, the gravel path, her family's graves, all exactly where they should be. But the rest of the city felt like a different dimension entirely. And the people she passed felt so off that she refused to even step out of her car. Later, Her cousin confirmed that the old neighborhood had never been torn down or rebuilt. Carol had no history of memory problems, but to this day, she refuses to drive those streets again, afraid of what she might find if her reality cracks open a second time. One of the strangest things that people keep catching on camera is what looks like two suns burning side by side. You can find countless videos of this phenomenon from many different countries, all showing the same unbelievable thing. And while you might assume it is just a trick of the light, many believe we are witnessing something much stranger. A brief glimpse into a parallel universe sitting right next to ours. Now, an astronomer named Jim Kaler has looked into this phenomenon and explained that it could be optical refraction, basically light bending in the air. But here's the issue. Even he calls it a pretty rare phenomenon, and he admits that science cannot fully explain it yet. Usually, a mirage like this would align vertically with the sun, rather than sitting side by side. So when two suns appear next to each other, it breaks the rules. Is it really just an atmospheric mass? Sure. Or does that second sun belong to a sky that is not quite ours? You decide. In August 2004, a man was found completely naked, sunburned, and beaten behind a Burger King in Georgia. He was suffering from severe retrograde amnesia. Dubbed Benjamin Kyle, he possessed highly specific skills, like he could name state capitals, prepare food in restaurants, and repair carburetors. But his own identity was completely blank. For 11 years, he became the most famous unidentified man in America, baffling the FBI, Interpol, and the national media. Finally, in 2015, genetic genealogy analysis revealed his true identity as William Burgess Powell, a man who had left behind a life in Indiana in 1976. But this revelation uncovered a much darker truth. Investigative journalists later found evidence suggesting that the amnesia of Powell might have been an elaborate, decades-long act to evade ties to organized crime and unsolved cases in Colorado. Confronted with his past, Powell refused to step foot in his childhood home and disappeared entirely from the public eye once again in late 2016. Let us talk about one of the most discussed photographs of all time. In 1941, a photo was taken at the reopening of the South Fork Bridge in Gold Bridge, British Columbia. At first glance, it looks like a normal historical photo. Black and white, people wearing 1940s attire. But one man stands right out. He is wearing modern-looking sunglasses, sporting a graphic shirt, and holding a small object that looks very much like a compact camera. The internet went wild, claiming this was a modern-day hipster who had somehow slipped into the past. Of course, the debunkers showed up. They said the sunglasses were a 1920s style. The shirt was just a sweater with a sports emblem. The camera was small but entirely possible for that era. Boring, right? Maybe all of that is true, but it certainly does not stop you from wondering. On July 14, 1911, the luxurious Zanetti train carrying 106 wealthy passengers entered the Lombardy Tunnel in Italy and disappeared without a trace. Rescue teams scoured the 500-meter-long tunnel but found no debris or signs of the train. The only clue came from a panicked survivor who jumped out before the tunnel entrance, recounting that a thick, strange, white fog had swallowed the locomotive. The story becomes even more thrilling when Mexican hospital records from 1845 purportedly surfaced, describing 104 disoriented Italians claiming to have arrived from Rome in 1911, including one carrying a cigarette box dated 1907. Although historians consider this an elaborately fabricated railway folktale, lacking evidence from contemporary newspapers, many still speculate that the train might have entered some kind of time portal, an invisible gateway leading to a different era or even another dimension. In 1921, a Swiss teacher named Paul Amadeus Dienach fell into a coma due to a rare neurological illness. When he woke up a year later, he claimed his consciousness had traveled to the year 3906, inhabiting the body of another man. Not a machine, not a time travel device. He described it more like his mind projecting forward across the centuries. Dienach wrote it all down in a diary, later published as Chronicles from the Future. In it, he describes a calm, almost utopian society where people live for around 200 years, disease has been wiped out, and humanity has gone through a profound spiritual awakening after surviving devastating global wars. Skeptics wave it all away as a coma dream, or maybe just notes for a novel he never finished. And they might be right. But even as a pure thought experiment, the detail and the philosophy of his vision are genuinely haunting. So was it a dying brain inventing a future, or a mind that actually went somewhere? According to so many people, the Star Wars movie we watch today is not the same one we remember. And no, I am not talking about the edits of George Lucas. The issue goes much deeper. Most of us insist that Darth Vader says, "Luke, I am your father." Every impression of Luke at recess started with that line. Even the parodies did. But when watching the movie again now, the actual line is, "No, I am your father." So what is happening here? Are millions of us simply misremembering one of the most famous lines in cinematic history? Or have we all quietly slipped into a galaxy slightly different from our own? This video was posted online and it is truly bizarre. At first glance, it just looks like an empty street with a bird hovering in the sky. Until you realize the bird is not moving. Not gliding, not flapping its wings. It is just standing still in midair. Then, a mother and her son step into the frame, both looking up, completely baffled. This is not a video glitch, because these people are moving normally. There is nothing behind the bird. No power lines, no poles, no buildings, just empty space and a creature stuck in place, as if the universe forgot to animate it. Definitely a strange one. This only exists in your memory, and that is what makes it so unsettling. Think back to the classic books for children about a family of bears. How do you spell that name? If you said Berenstein with an E near the end, then you are in the majority. Almost everyone remembers it that way. The problem is, every printed copy spells it Berenstain with an A. There is no E. There never was. So either millions upon millions of people around the world have independently misremembered the exact same letter in the exact same word, or, as some secretly believe, we all crossed over from a timeline where the word was actually spelled with an E. So what does your memory say? And how sure are you, really? In the 1950s, a well-dressed businessman landed at a Tokyo airport and handed over his passport. His nationality was listed as Tuareg, a country no official had ever heard of. When asked, he pointed on the map to the spot between France and Spain and grew upset when told that was Andorra. He insisted Tuareg had existed for 1,000 years. He even carried currency, documents, and a license, all from a nation that did not exist. Officials locked him in a guarded hotel room overnight, and by morning, the man and his papers had vanished. The wild theory is that he slipped in from a parallel Earth where Tuareg is real, then slipped back out. The grounded version traces him to a real fraudster named John Zegras, arrested in Japan for forging documents. His story later inflated into a dimensional travel legend. So which was he? A con man? Or a tourist from the world next door? Now I want to hear from you. Out of all 20 of these, which one actually got under your skin? Drop the number in the comments and tell me why. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our upcoming journeys.
The first thing that goes through your mind?
I'm losing my mind. You know, it didn't look like anything I've ever seen before.
Oh, aliens are just another hoax, huh? Well, you check out this video for yourself.
Then I look up here to the sky, see something falling down, so I pulled out my phone and I zoomed in and it was right about there.
In the early hours of June 5, 2025, in Compton, California, a resident named Jessica was alerted by her Ring camera at around 1 in the morning. The footage showed a moving figure with a distinctly elongated skull and bizarre, unnatural body proportions. Jessica was certain of what she saw, and she was terrified by the thought that it might not be human.
What's the first thing that goes through your mind?
I'm losing my mind. You know, it didn't look like anything I've ever seen before.
The internet exploded with debate. Skeptics insisted it was just a person walking by, while holding a white sweater or white trash bags, distorted by the low light. But then, a crime scene reconstruction expert, a man who applied the very same techniques he used in major homicide trials, examined the raw footage and the data behind it. He found no manipulation, no splicing, no computer-generated imagery.
The video is authentic, it's real, it's not a hoax. To me, it looks like some kind of non-human creature.
He even created a 3D model of this alien, describing it as having 2 arms, 2 legs, and an estimated height of about 3 to 4 feet. Where are you watching this video from? Do you think the Compton footage shows a real extraterrestrial, or just a trick of the low light? Let me know your theory below. In June of 2019, in La Junta, southeastern Colorado, a homeowner named Vivian posted security footage of a small, emaciated figure walking down her driveway with a strange, dancing, irregular gait. Its diminutive size and oversized ears made millions of people compare it to a famous fictional house elf, and the clip gathered over 7 million views. Public suspicion fell on the homeowner's 9-year-old son, who they guessed was walking around with underwear over his head. The boy flatly denied it, insisting he was inside watching television with his mother at 9 in the evening. A forensic video analyst confirmed the setup was standard and the footage was unaltered, but he pointed out that infrared night vision creates a ghostly effect in motion blur. He believed the bright spots on the figure's head were simply ponytails reflecting the camera's infrared light, suggesting a human child. Still, the gait has never quite been explained away. Tap the like button to let us know this content is making a difference. And if you're watching on your phone, be sure to press the hype button right below. On the night of April 30th, 2023, in Las Vegas, Nevada, something streaked across the sky and generated a shockwave felt by at least 21 witnesses across 4 states. Police body cameras captured a glowing green streak, and the American Meteor Society confirmed the timeline. Then, the call came in. A young man named Angel and his family dialed emergency services to report 2 enormous creatures, somewhere between 8 and 10 feet tall, hiding near heavy equipment in their backyard. They described massive, shiny eyes and large mouths, and they swore to the dispatcher that these beings were 100% not human. A crime scene reconstruction analyst studied a 1-second sequence of the footage frame by frame and claimed he could see a head and a smoke-like distortion around it, which he believed was a cloaking device. Other experts dismissed the whole thing as shifting shadows on a tractor. The police later closed the case as unfounded, yet they quietly installed high-tech cameras at the home, which only fueled the conspiracy. Could that visual distortion really be an alien cloaking device? Or just shadows playing tricks in the dark?
Then I look up here to the sky, see something falling down, so I pulled out my phone and like I zoomed in, and it was like right about like there.
In Pembroke, Massachusetts, a woman named Colleen was relaxing near her hot tub one evening when she saw something rapidly descending from the upper atmosphere. She described a strange craft with intense flashing lights, looking as if it were on fire, like a massive beam of light burning through the air. What unsettled her most was that it did not fall in a smooth, predictable arc, the way a meteor or a piece of space junk would. Its path seemed controlled and deliberate, and then it vanished before it reached the horizon. Certain that she was about to witness a catastrophic crash, she called the authorities. But the Federal Aviation Administration, the police, and the fire department found nothing. No radar tracks, no crash site, no debris. Whatever it was, either maneuvered out of sight or never had the physical mass it appeared to have. She was simply relieved she had recorded it, so people would know she was not imagining things. And here's the discussion for the audience today. On June 22, 2021, in Rutland, Vermont, a security camera captured the shadow of something darting across a residential lawn at an impossible, almost supernatural speed. On its own, that clip is easy to dismiss as a bird or an insect flying close to the lens. But here is what makes it unsettling. The family's rescue cat, named Madeline, who is blind in her right eye, instantly reacted with pure panic. She bolted straight toward the path of the shadow, visibly startled. Animals do not lie. They cannot plan a hoax. So when a creature reacts with raw fear, viewers feel that the thing on screen had a real, physical, kinetic presence in that yard. Something was there. What do you think that object could be that made the cat so panicked? Steve, living on Vancouver Island, Canada, captured a strange image. The frame begins with a white spot of light appearing in the left corner of the screen, then suddenly changing direction and flying straight toward the camera. This spot of light was sparkling silver and had a shape very similar to a miniature human. Steve described this scene as looking exactly like the appearance of a supernatural phenomenon, specifically a fairy. Although the moment looked magical, the video actually only captured the image of a fly or winged insect flying close to the reflective camera lens in the night. Knowing the truth, but finding the image so interesting, Steve decided to post this fairy video to a local community page for everyone to enjoy. The video quickly attracted tens of thousands of views. Although some joked that a rolled-up newspaper could solve this, many others were extremely delighted and associated this creature with Tinkerbell the fairy. In late February of 2022, after heavy flooding in Marrickville, a suburb of Sydney, Australia, a jogger named Harry discovered a strange biological mass lying on the pavement. It had a bulbous head, a torso with no arms, tiny eyes, and a trunk-like appendage. He filmed it, poked it with a stick, and noted that it did not move at all. Given the chaos of the world at that moment, he wondered aloud whether it could be an alien. The footage spread fast. A zoologist circulated the images among her academic colleagues, but the experts could not agree. One theory suggested it was a prematurely lost marsupial embryo, perhaps a possum or a glider, but with nothing in the frame to show its scale, no one could be sure. Biologists from 2 major universities were left completely stumped. Nature, violently disturbed, can look profoundly alien. In the dense, humid woods near Sam Houston National Forest outside Navasota, Texas, a group of young people went exploring after hearing strange noises. What happened next was an ambush. An enormous, pale white, 2-legged creature lunged out of the brush and charged directly at them. The description matches a piece of digital folklore known as the rake or the crawler, a deep forest humanoid that is emaciated, pale, long-limbed, and aggressively territorial. Skeptics argue it was a bear with mange, or a prankster in a suit. But the genuine terror and the immediate permanent retreat of the witnesses are what sell the encounter. This region, with its tangled thickets and old legends, has become a modern hotspot for these aggressive sightings.
Oh, aliens are just another hoax, huh? Well, you check out this video for yourself.
In 2008, in rural Brazil, a resident filmed a pale humanoid creature peering directly through the glass window of their home. There is no greater violation of safety than seeing a face that is not human staring into the place where you sleep. The homeowner brought the footage to local media and authorities, who dismissed it entirely, treating it as though it never happened. But Brazil has a deep history with these encounters. In the famous 1996 Varginha incident, witnesses described beings with oily brown skin and red eyes, allegedly captured by the military. That case is still discussed at the highest levels of United States defense investigations today. The window peeper taps into our oldest fear, that the thing we are afraid of is already at the glass, looking in. In April of 2011, a video from the Irkutsk region of Siberia showed the remains of an alleged alien lying in the snow. It had the classic appearance: a large head, spindly limbs, solid black eyes, and a missing lower leg, as if it had suffered terrible trauma. The footage appeared right as the region was buzzing with reports of strange lights in the sky. One journalist spun a haunting narrative, claiming the being was the lone survivor of a military covered-up crash, an injured creature that fled the wreckage only to freeze to death in the brutal Russian cold. The video gathered millions of views, but forensic specialists noticed the giveaways. There was no blood pooling, no melting in the snow around a supposedly warm body, and no sign that any animal had come to scavenge it. The materials looked like sculpted skin and dough, the tools of high-end practical effects. A hoax, but a brilliant one, set in a place so remote that no one could ever go and check. Did this brilliant Siberian hoax fool you? Or did you spot the practical effects right away? Be honest in the comments. In February of 2023, the United States military went on high alert after shooting down a Chinese surveillance balloon. During that tense period, radar detected an object loitering at 20,000 feet near the Michigan and Canada border over Lake Huron. Calling it a hazard to civilian aircraft, the military scrambled 2 F-16 fighter jets. Officials described an octagonal structure with trailing strings and no visible payload. The jet locked on and fired a missile, and the object shattered apart in the air. Many experts believe it was simply a stray hobby balloon caught up in the panic, but the cockpit audio tells a stranger story. The pilot, a highly trained professional, said plainly, "I would not really call it a balloon. I do not know what it is. I can see it with my own eyes." That hesitation from someone trained to identify aircraft is what keeps this case alive. In January 2015, a clip posted online stirred up the community of Salford, England. The video showed an incredibly thin, pale figure with an unusually large head. The uploader described it as too tall and too thin to be a normal person, with skin that looked wet, almost like snake skin. They claimed it was a rare type of tall, white-gray alien, never before seen in the United Kingdom. And to add drama, the account claimed it was shut down by the government shortly afterward, though they never said which one. Strangely, this area does have a history with these phenomena, with over 20 UFO sightings reported over the years, including one caller who told the Ministry of Defense they had seen 17 spaceships filled with little green aliens. Do you buy the government cover-up angle on this one, or is it just internet drama? Let's debate in the comments. In July of 2022, footage from Moorhead, Kentucky showed a pale, lanky, hunched figure sneaking near a back garden. A voice on the audio says, "You can see his face clearly." The creature looked like something out of a science fiction film. But investigators noticed the video was floating and shaking in a way that fixed security cameras never do. a paranormal research firm discovered the truth. The footage was actually a smartphone recording of a playback monitor, and you could even see the reflection of the person filming in the glass of the screen. Recording a screen of a screen destroys image quality and manufactures a monster out of digital noise. On top of that, in certain infrared conditions, dark clothing, like a black suit, can reflect infrared light so efficiently that it appears stark white. The crawler is almost certainly a human, distorted into a nightmare. In 2017, deep in the rainforest of Veracruz, Mexico, an artifact hunter named Jose unearthed a remarkable triangular jade carving covered in intricate detail. He called it evidence of a cosmic encounter. One side of the jade shows a majestic Mayan chieftain wearing a traditional headdress. The other side shows a distinctly non-human figure. And in the center, the two are shown exchanging gifts, knowledge, or technology, while a classic saucer-shaped craft hovers above them. Mainstream archaeologists tend to label objects like this as modern forgeries or misread myths. But so many similar artifacts keep surfacing from the Mexican interior that it forces an uncomfortable question. What if Mayan cosmology was not entirely a matter of religion and metaphor, but partly a record of something that actually landed and made contact? During excavations of an unusual tomb, researchers uncovered mummified remains that did not match human anatomy. The body had an elongated skull and three-fingered hands, traits that point away from human genetics. And on one of those three fingers sat a shiny metallic ring. The way it was made and placed suggested it was permanently affixed, possibly fused into the tissue itself, never meant to be removed. Forensic theorists wonder whether this was more than a piece of jewelry. Could it have been a remnant of advanced technology, a biometric device, or a component of some survival or power system? Precision-crafted metal on an ancient anomalous body is the kind of physical evidence that is very hard to simply wave away. The image has become so iconic that reproductions of these alien rings now flood online marketplaces, proving how deeply this single artifact has burrowed into our imagination. Alien technology or just bizarre ancient jewelry? Tell me what you think this ring was actually used for. In the remote Cane Creek Canyon region of Utah, near the famous Moab Maiden rock art, an explorer was following a faint trail along a sheer cliff face that dropped 300 feet to the canyon floor. Hidden behind the ancient panels of rock art, he found a concealed cave system. The area was already historically significant, dotted with ancient structures and storage rooms. He pushed 75 to 100 feet deep into the rock, and that is when he heard strange echoes and saw it. A terrifying, non-human creature huddled in the darkness. But this encounter was different. The being did not attack. It seemed disoriented, lost, almost as if it were hiding from something else. The explorer quietly backed away to avoid provoking it. There is something far more haunting about an alien that is not the hunter, but the hunted, cowering in the dark for reasons we will never know. A group of friends said they watched a craft land in the forest. Curiosity got the better of them, so they crept closer. From a short distance, they saw a gray creature emerge, roughly the height of a person, but extremely thin. It walked toward the trees, then simply vanished, leaving the entire group with a mystery they could never explain. While driving past the perimeter of Area 51 in the Nevada desert, a traveler spotted something in the sand. He stopped the car, looked closer, and was stunned. A massive spacecraft sat in the open. Then an alien figure emerged, and within seconds, the craft rocketed straight up into the sky and disappeared. He had heard the rumors his whole life, and now he claimed to be staring right at them. Do you think this traveler really witnessed an Area 51 secret, or was it just a desert mirage? Sound off in the comments. In May of 2007, a rancher named Mario in Metepec, Mexico, found a tiny, bizarre creature trapped in one of his animal enclosures. In a panic, he drowned it, and the strange corpse eventually ended up in the hands of a well-known investigator. The body looked deeply alien. It had an oversized head, long spindly limbs, a long tail, and no fur at all. This one seemed impossible to explain until science stepped in. Medical scans and DNA testing identified the creature as a squirrel monkey. The disturbing truth came out when the rancher's nephew confessed that he had taken a dead monkey, carefully skinned it, removed all of its fur, and placed it in the trap as a prank. Once you strip the skin and hair off a familiar animal, the human brain no longer recognizes it. That is how you manufacture an alien. In the woods of Texas in 2009, an explorer secretly filmed a classic gray creature standing beside a grounded, hovering spacecraft. The being lingered for a moment, appearing to complete some specific task, and then climbed back aboard. What happened next defies known engineering. The craft launched straight up, an instant vertical ascent at incredible speed, and disappeared into the sky in seconds. There was no slow takeoff, no gradual climb, just an impossible burst of acceleration. This kind of movement, far beyond anything our aircraft can do, is exactly what serious investigators point to when they argue that some of these objects are genuinely not built by human hands. In October of 1996, in the woods near Snoqualmie Pass outside Seattle, Washington, a man named Dr. Jonathan Reed claimed he encountered a small, vibrating, bipedal creature wearing a seamless black suit. He said the entity vaporized his golden retriever, and in his panic and grief, he struck it with a heavy branch, killing it. He described a humming black obelisk hovering nearby that went silent as he approached. Reed wrapped the body, took it home, and stored it in a chest freezer, earning it the nickname Freezer Freddy. He filmed extensive footage of the corpse and even a partial autopsy. Then came the classic escalation. He claimed unmarked white vans were watching him, that his home was ransacked, the body stolen, and that he was shot at and forced into silence. For years, the footage thrived online until investigators confirmed the entire thing was an elaborate hoax, built with a practical effects dummy and the help of an associate. It remains a masterclass in giving the audience exactly what it craves: panicked witnesses, physical proof, and government suppression. So there you have it. 20 creatures, 20 pieces of footage, and 20 very different explanations. Some are clearly tricks of infrared light, where a child, a cat, or a moth becomes a monster on a grainy screen. Some are elaborate hoaxes, like the skinned monkey or the body in the freezer, crafted to give us the fear and the wonder we secretly want. But a few of them, the locked-on object over Lake Huron, the authenticated figure in Compton, the carvings and the ring buried for centuries, refuse to fit neatly into any box. And maybe that is the real lesson here. The camera is everywhere now. It watches our doorsteps, our skies, and our forests around the clock. And every so often, it captures something that none of our experts can fully explain. So now I want to hear from you. Out of all 20 of these cases, which one do you think is genuinely unexplainable? And which one do you think is an obvious fake? Tell me the number in the comments below, because I read every single one. If this video made you look a little longer at your own security camera tonight, do me a favor and hit that like button, because it helps more curious minds find these mysteries. And if you want to keep going down this rabbit hole, I have made another video diving into the most credible military encounters of all time, the ones our own governments could not explain. Click it now, and let us keep searching for the truth together. I will see you there.
Where are the aliens? And I think if anyone would know about aliens on Earth, it would probably be me.
I would think.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with space stuff.
It's back, it's back. The UFO's back.
Alright, you tell me what it is.
This footage was uploaded on March 21st, and it does not behave like a balloon or any aircraft we've ever seen. The object simply hovers in place. If it were a stealth bomber, it would be moving forward. Instead, it just sits there. In a separate video filmed in Israel a year earlier, an identical disc hovers silently in a sky full of birds, then suddenly accelerates from left to right at incredible speed, and then stops dead and returns to hovering. No deceleration, no turning curve. That kind of instant stop is the signature of something we cannot explain. Where are you watching this video from? Do you think an instant, physics-defying stop is proof this isn't human technology? Tell me your theory in the comments. On May 31st, 2026, at a remote farm in Campo Largo near Curitiba, an animal rescue influencer named Mike Liao reported something terrifying. It started with an unusual number of contrails in the sky over an area with almost no air traffic. Then came deep humming and cracking sounds from the forest. His heavy electric security fence was torn down, and he saw a large figure flee into the brush. His 280 rescued animals were in a state of panic. That night, live on Instagram, he captured a massive eye-shaped glowing craft with a dim red orb beneath it, flying silently, producing no wind and no heat. After the event, his following exploded from 40,000 to over 1.5 million. But he also faced armed intimidation and public threats against his family. The Brazilian Air Force said it detected no unusual radar returns. So you are left with a choice. Either a humble animal rescuer staged one of the most disruptive hoaxes of the decade and invited threats to his family, or he filmed something real and powerful people wanted him silenced. In April 2016, a U.S. military reconnaissance aircraft over Mosul, Iraq, recorded a 4-second clip of a smooth, highly reflective metallic sphere gliding alongside the plane at constant speed and altitude. No wings, no exhaust, no contrails, no heat distortion. Imagery analysts spent more than 6 years studying this clip, and they still cannot tell you what it is. The Department of Defense confirmed the footage is genuine, but never disclosed its origin or its purpose. And here is the part that should make you lean in. Spherical objects like this one make up roughly 52% of all military UFO reports. This was not a one-time event. It was the baseline. In November 2020, a U.S. military aircraft filmed a massive disc-shaped craft moving through thick clouds along the Afghanistan-Pakistan border. Analysts estimate it was between roughly 650 and 1,300 feet wide. It drifted smoothly, then without warning made an instant, sharp turn that breaks every rule of known aerodynamics. No heat signature, no exhaust, and it made no attempt to evade the aircraft tracking it. How does a craft the size of a skyscraper move through military airspace without a heat signature? Share your thoughts in the comments.
It's back. The UFO's back.
On February 24th, 2026, a streamer named Alistair Dread live-streamed himself tracking a strange object over a lake in California. He said it had impossible properties. One half was freezing cold, the other half warm and humming. It supposedly let laser light pass through its solid metal shell, glowed green from inside, and caused electromagnetic interference, shutting down his electric vehicle's screen and even a nearby vending machine. The footage pulled in millions of viewers. And then, Dredd confessed the whole thing was a staged hoax that he did because he was bored. But here is why this one still matters. The exact properties he faked closely mirror a real object that scientists are studying right now, the Buga sphere in Colombia. That sphere boiled water on its surface while staying freezing cold to the touch. Its weight changed from about 4.5 pounds to about 10 pounds. X-ray and CT scans at the University of Georgia revealed 3 distinct concentric inner spheres and a carbon-based polymer core. So even when a hoaxer invents impossible details, he is unknowingly describing properties that genuine physical evidence already shows. That should unsettle you more than the hoax itself. On May 22, 2009, 5 hours after a 5.7 magnitude earthquake, multiple independent observers across Mexico City filmed a dark, massive, irregular object hovering high above. Then smaller, glowing orbs began emerging from it in coordinated waves, separating and drifting in different directions. 3 separate videos from different locations were cross-referenced and mathematically triangulated, confirming a single, large physical structure above the city. This matches a 2004 incident where Mexican Air Force pilots used infrared cameras to film 11 unidentified objects moving in formation. The pilots tried to pursue them, but could never close the distance. In October 2018, surveillance cameras at a U.S. Joint Operations Base in Iraq recorded a round object with dangling appendages, looking like a jellyfish floating in the air. It moved on a controlled path with no wings and no exhaust. Then it descended directly into a body of water, stayed submerged for 17 minutes, and shot back out at high speed. On infrared, it rapidly flipped between black hot and white hot, meaning its temperature was changing faster than the tracking system could follow. The Pentagon reviewed it and officially classified it as an unidentified aerial phenomenon. A paraglider filmed a compact, segmented object that looked both mechanical and biological. Analysts described it as elongated and cocoon-like, with a layered shell that seemed capable of shifting or opening. In some frames, light appeared to bend around its edges, and parts of it looked semi-transparent. Then, in a single frame, it was gone. One moment hovering, the next, the sky was empty.
Mysterious object of unknown origin that fell from the sky and crashed just near Area 51 in Tanzania.
Investigative reporter George Knapp reported that an unidentified object crashed on public land just outside Area 51 in the Tikaboo Valley along the so-called ET Highway in Nevada. Within minutes, a military force set up an armed blockade, and the Federal Aviation Administration ordered an emergency airspace closure.
Also, short be advised, it's a UAV, unmanned aircraft with ordnance.
Days later, recovery teams brought in bulldozers and buried the entire crash site under a thick layer of dirt to hide any trace.
If this thing would have crashed anywhere in restricted airspace, in restricted area, we would have never known about it.
Creech Air Force Base claimed it was just a drone crash and accused civilians of scattering debris to sabotage the scene. Independent investigators called that a classic smokescreen.
All right, you tell me what it is.
On March 13, 1997, over the South Mountain area of Phoenix, Arizona, a cameraman recorded a string of brilliant lights blinking on in sequence. Witnesses described a massive, silent, V-shaped structure estimated to be the size of several football fields. It hovered roughly 25 miles away, then faded out one light at a time. This is one of the most widely witnessed UFO events in U.S. history, seen by thousands of people. A craft that large, moving silently at low altitude, suggests technology capable of negating its own mass. Were you or anyone you know in Phoenix in 1997? Share your story in the comments. Over the historical center of Moscow, Russia, witnesses filmed a giant pyramid-shaped object hovering directly above the Kremlin. It was estimated to be up to 1 mile wide and remained completely stationary. Russian state media dismissed it as an illusion, the local police refused to comment, and aerospace experts were left puzzled. A mile-wide, non-aerodynamic pyramid hanging motionless over one of the most fortified command centers on Earth is not something we have an explanation for. On April 10, 2026, witnesses in Florida recorded objects flying while engulfed in flames. Above them, a drone or helicopter with a blinking red light appeared to be monitoring them closely. Then one of the flaming objects suddenly split into multiple separate pieces and moved away in different directions. No one called it fireworks. No one called it a meteor. And the presence of a military helicopter tells you this was treated as a serious airspace intrusion, not a holiday display. On Christmas Day 2025, a woman in Brazil recorded a low-flying object she described as looking like a seaplane, but it had no wings, no propellers, and made no engine noise. This closely matches a clear video captured by a commercial pilot showing a similarly shaped, smooth craft moving through the clouds at high speed. Two sightings, very different locations, nearly identical objects. On November 7, 2025, in West Lothian, Scotland, multiple witnesses recorded several bright lights arranged in a rigid geometric shape hovering in thick fog. Despite the poor visibility, the lights held their exact alignment and distance and moved in a coordinated pattern. They were too far to identify, but far too organized to be random reflections. This happened inside the famous Falkirk Triangle, one of the world's biggest UFO hotspots, the same region tied to the 1979 Robert Taylor case, the only UFO encounter in British history to become a formal criminal investigation. In August 2022, in the Green Valleys near Villa Pinzón, Colombia, a witness recorded a cylindrical object behaving in a way that no balloon and no drone ever should. According to his account, the cylindrical craft descended and then vanished directly into a hillside. Now, most people, after a sighting like that, would post the clip and move on. This witness did something different. He went back. He physically returned to the area where the object disappeared to investigate it in person. And what he found at the impact zone was significant terrain displacement, physical disturbance in the ground itself, the kind of trace a real, solid, massive object leaves behind. He faced widespread skepticism, as anyone in his position would. People offered every ordinary explanation in the book. But he held firm, insisting that what he recorded and what he found at that site simply did not fit any conventional aerial object and could not be staged as a hoax. And that's the key distinction here. A hoax lives on a screen. Terrain displacement is physical evidence on the ground that someone has to actually explain. We stay with the cylinder shape, but move to Cordoba, Argentina in December 2023. Here, residents filmed a glowing, elongated cylindrical object drifting silently through the night sky. At first glance, you might reach for the simplest answer, a lantern, a drone, a reflection. But the details dismantle each of those one by one. First, the light. The glow surrounding this object did not match reflected moonlight. It appeared to come from inside the craft itself, suggesting an active internal energy source rather than light bouncing off a surface. Second, the movement. This object traveled in a steady, deliberate straight line. It did not wobble. It did not drift on the breeze. And that single detail eliminates the lantern theory immediately because a lantern is at the mercy of the wind. It bobs, it tilts, it wanders. A drone hovering against the wind fights to stay level and shows it. This object did neither. It moved with a calm, continuous stability. And here's why that matters beyond this single clip. That exact type of steady, self-powered, wobble-free movement has been reported in countless UFO sightings across the entire world, in different countries, by different people who never spoke to one another. When a behavior repeats that consistently across the globe, you are no longer looking at isolated mistakes. You are looking at a pattern. In 2022, residents of Dayton recorded an object hovering with rhythmically blinking lights. It stayed still for about 10 minutes, then suddenly changed its behavior the moment a high-zoom camera was pointed at it, darting sideways before vanishing. Flight registries and radar logs confirmed no aircraft were in those coordinates. And the location is no accident. Dayton sits right next to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which holds a near-mythical place in UFO history. It was the home of Project Blue Book, the U.S. Air Force's official investigation into UFOs, and it is the base long rumored to store recovery materials from the 1947 Roswell crash. So the obvious debate emerged. Was this a classified, reverse-engineered craft being tested near its home base, or was it a genuine anomalous object drawn to that location? Either answer is extraordinary. On August 7, 2021, an observer standing in a backyard in Philadelphia filmed a commercial passenger jet flying across the sky. Routine, until you notice the second object flying extremely close beside it. At first, many people assumed it was a mid-air refueling operation, a tanker topping off the jet. A reasonable guess. But then the details came into focus, and the explanation collapsed. The smaller object was perfectly circular, a sphere. It had no wings, no fuselage, no cockpit, no tail. And critically, no refueling boom, the long arm that any real tanker must extend to transfer fuel. Aviation experts pointed out that this sphere was flying in a dangerously close proximity to a passenger aircraft, a position that violates every FAA safety regulation in existence. No legitimate aircraft would be allowed to shadow a passenger jet that closely. So you're left with a smooth, wingless, controlled sphere deliberately flying alongside a plane full of people, moving with precision, owing nothing to the laws of conventional flight. Researchers connected this to a long history of UFOs shadowing commercial and military aircraft along the New Jersey and Pennsylvania coastlines, often causing brief electronic interference on the flight decks. In Waterbury, Connecticut, on July 24, 2019, a witness recorded a white object moving steadily across the sky. It had no wings, no control surfaces, and no visible means of propulsion, and it appeared to emit pulses of light as it moved. Strange enough on its own. But then it repeated. According to the witness, a second object, identical in shape and behavior, followed the exact same flight path 20 minutes later. Both were completely silent. And here is the detail that turns this from a light in the sky into a physical event. These sightings were accompanied by powerful, house-shaking sonic booms in the night. Not distant rumbles, booms strong enough to shake homes. And the timing rules out the ordinary explanations. These booms occurred far later in the evening than any normal construction, industrial work, or contractor activity would ever take place. Local police investigated. Residents speculated about structural damage. And yet, no conventional explosive source and no aviation source was ever identified. So you have two silent, identical, wingless craft tracing the same path paired with violent acoustic disruptions on the ground that nobody could explain. The silence of the craft and the violence of the booms make a deeply uncomfortable combination. In 2017, using high-magnification astronomical equipment, a researcher in Oman captured a long, dark, solid cylindrical structure passing across the surface of the moon. It cast a faint but distinct shadow, confirming it was a massive, solid object navigating through space. This rules out birds, debris, or camera artifacts. So now we arrive at the question that has been building this entire time. 20 objects. Active war zones, fortified capitals, crowded cities, and orbit itself. Who has the technology to actually watch all of this happen across the entire planet in real time? And this is where the man I promised you finally enters the picture. Elon Musk. Publicly, Musk is a skeptic. He says that with roughly 6,000 Starlink satellites in orbit, SpaceX has never once had to maneuver around a UFO. He argues that the lack of clear, high-resolution photos proves these objects are just optical illusions or misidentified aircraft. It sounds reasonable, until you understand what Starlink actually is. Astrophysicists and satellite engineers point out a simple fact. Starlink satellites are purely telecommunications platforms. They are not equipped with the optical, infrared, or radar sensors needed to detect fast-moving objects. So when Musk says his satellites have never seen a UFO, he is telling a technical truth that conveniently hides a much bigger one. Because Starlink has a classified military sister network. It is called Starshield. Starshield was developed by SpaceX for the National Reconnaissance Office and the United States Space Force. And unlike Starlink, Starshield is built specifically to track things. It integrates advanced synthetic aperture radar and ground-moving target indicator technology directly into the SpaceX satellite chassis. The Space Force awarded SpaceX a contract worth approximately $4.16 billion to build a comprehensive sensor-to-shooter tracking network. Using SpaceX's rapid launchability, the military deployed more than 80 Starshield satellites in under 6 months, far faster than any traditional defense contractor could manage. And here is the genius of the arrangement. By hiding classified military tracking payloads inside high-volume commercial Starlink launches, the intelligence community can build a massive global surveillance grid without public oversight. Plausible deniability built right in. Even the ground equipment plays a role. Musk himself once joked that Starlink user antennas would be like UFOs on a stick, with self-adjusting motors. That dense network of ground terminals forms a passive global radar receiver grid, capable of detecting atmospheric disruptions and the ionized trails left behind by stealthy craft. While Elon Musk stands in front of the public and denies that UFOs exist, his corporate empire is actively building the exact orbital tracking infrastructure that the military intelligence community uses to monitor, target, and study these anomalous craft. His skepticism is not a contradiction. It is the cover story. The brand stays clean and distant from fringe topics, while the hardware quietly does the opposite of what the words claim. So when the founder of the largest satellite network in human history tells you there is nothing in the sky worth worrying about, the more important question is not whether he believes it. The question is what his satellites are seeing that the rest of us are not allowed to. Let me bring all of this together. We started with a metallic orb over Mosul that the Department of Defense studied for 6 years and still cannot explain. We watched an object dive into water for 17 minutes and rocket back out. We saw a disk wider than a skyscraper turn on a dime over Afghanistan. We watched a carrier craft release glowing orbs over Mexico City, confirmed from 3 separate angles. We saw a mile-wide pyramid sit over the Kremlin while the authorities looked the other way. We saw crash sites buried by bulldozers, witnesses threatened, and hoaxers who accidentally described real scientific anomalies. 20 objects across air, water, and space that consistently break the laws of physics we were taught are unbreakable. And above all of it, a private space empire building a planet-wide sensor grid for the military, run by a man who keeps telling you to look away. And I am genuinely curious where you land on this, so tell me in the comments. Which of these 20 cases is impossible for you to explain away? Is it the Mosul orb, the Iraq jellyfish, or the Mexico City mothership? Drop the number below because I read every single comment, and the ones that stand out, I am turning into the next full investigation. If this connected dots for you that no one else is willing to connect, make sure you are subscribed, because next time we are going deeper into Starshield and exactly what those 80 new satellites were really launched to track. The sky has not changed. What is changing is how much of it they can now see. The only question left is whether they will ever let you see it too.
North Korea is famous for its bizarre laws and strange phenomena. This is a country where the government tells you which haircut you are allowed to wear, what year it is on the calendar, and even who you are allowed to fall in love with. From a city with a perplexing lifestyle to a city full of weapons and camouflage. In this video, we will explore the bizarre things that only exist in North Korea. In 2024, North Korea shocked the world by banning sunglasses and even wedding dresses, but the reality goes much further. Blue jeans and Western-style clothing are strictly forbidden because the regime sees them as symbols of American influence. Citizens are pushed to wear traditional Korean clothing like the hanbok instead, and enforcement is brutal. Inspectors patrol the streets, and violators face fines, public criticism sessions, or even imprisonment. Then there is the hair. Reports describe a list of just 28 approved hairstyles, 10 for men and 18 for women. State television once aired a program literally titled, "Let us trim our hair in accordance with the socialist lifestyle," claiming that long hair drains energy from the brain and makes you less intelligent. Men must stay cleanly shaven. Women are forbidden from showing their thighs or cleavage, and makeup must stay minimal and modest. Some argue this preserves a unique national identity. Others see it as the crushing of individuality itself. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. The love lives of North Koreans are completely different from anything you might imagine. There are no movie dates. There are no restaurants for couples. Young people in love mostly just walk side by side on the street, arms crossed tightly over their chests, terrified of being accused of indecency. Public displays of affection are forbidden. And because young couples have nowhere to go, something incredible happens in the shadows. Defectors report that couples in the cities secretly pay middle-aged women to leave their own homes for a few hours, turning ordinary apartments into underground love motels. In addition, most marriages were arranged through traditional matchmaking, and the deciding factor was not love or attraction. It was social status and political loyalty to the regime. So the state decides what you wear, how you cut your hair, and who you are allowed to love. But the control goes even deeper, into the most private corner of a woman's life. This part will make you shudder. For most women in North Korea, commercial sanitary pads are either unknown or impossibly expensive. Women who escaped the country describe washing the same cloth rags month after month, year after year, just to reuse them. Female soldiers have it even worse. Cut off from markets, they use military gauze, old uniforms, or even socks, and they wash them secretly in the middle of the night while the male soldiers sleep, just to avoid the shame. Birth control pills and condoms are virtually non-existent. Defectors say they saw a pregnancy test for the first time in their lives only after escaping to China. And formal sex education in schools is exactly 0 hours. Hard to believe this is happening in the 21st century. Well, here is the twist. In North Korea, it technically is not the 21st century at all. The next fact will shock you. Unlike the rest of the world, North Korea follows its own clock, officially named Pyongyang time. In August 2015, the regime moved its clocks back by 30 minutes to mark the 75th anniversary of liberation from Japanese rule, deliberately breaking away from the time zone shared with Japan and South Korea. Then in 2018, during a brief period of peace talks, Kim Jong-un simply moved the clocks again. And it gets stranger. North Korea does not even use our calendar. In 1997, the state introduced the Juche calendar, where year 1 is 1912, the birth year of founding leader Kim Il-sung. So by their official calendar, the world is barely past year 100. They have not just isolated their land, they have isolated their time itself. For years, only citizens of 2 countries on Earth, Malaysia and Singapore, could enter North Korea without a visa. Then in 2017, the half-brother of Kim Jong-un was assassinated with a nerve agent in a Malaysian airport, and even that tiny door slammed shut. Today, everyone needs a visa, and even if you get one, you will never walk freely. Every visitor must be accompanied by a state-approved tour guide at all times, following a perfectly choreographed route. Why so strict? The answer will surprise you. But before we find out, if you find this video worthy of being known by more people, please click the hype button right below. Each hype will help this video be recommended more. Everyone knows North Korea is secretive, but building entire empty cities as stage props takes it to another level. Meet Kijong-dong, known to the world as Propaganda Village. It sits inside the demilitarized zone, built in the 1950s, with eye-catching tall buildings and one of the largest flagpoles on the planet, supposedly home to happy, patriotic North Koreans. But look through a high-powered lens and the illusion collapses. Many buildings have no glass in the windows. Lights turn on and off on automatic timers. The streets are completely empty. It is a Hollywood set the size of a town, built to lure South Koreans across the border with a fantasy of prosperity. But a fake village near the border is small-scale theater. In the heart of the capital stands the regime's most ambitious illusion of all. In the middle of the Pyongyang skyline stands a pyramid of glass and concrete rising about 1,082 feet into the sky. The Rujeong Hotel. 105 floors, plans for thousands of rooms and revolving restaurants at the top. It is one of the tallest buildings on the entire Korean peninsula. And here is the part that defies belief. In nearly 4 decades, it has never welcomed a single guest. Construction stalled when the money ran out, and the empty shell loomed over the city for years like a ghost. In 2012, the international luxury chain Kempinski announced it would finally finish the interior and open the hotel. Then came the missile tests, the sanctions, the collapsing diplomacy, and the deal died. Rare photos from inside reveal vast tiers of bare concrete that look more like an abandoned parking garage than a luxury hotel. Today, the regime has wrapped the entire facade in LED lights, turning the world's tallest unoccupied building into a giant nighttime propaganda screen. They could not make it real, so they made it glow. North Korea is not known for many things that are not terrible, so this one is a strange change of pace. At the intersections of Pyongyang stand young women in tailored military-style uniforms, white gloves, and black heels, directing traffic with robotic, perfectly choreographed precision. They snap their heads side to side, pivot on their heels, and signal cars with the discipline of soldiers on parade. They are hand-picked by the Ministry of Public Security based on their height, their youth, and their beauty. And this is one of the most coveted jobs in the entire country. Traffic ladies receive better food rations than ordinary citizens, free housing, and premium health care. Kim Jong-il personally ordered luxurious covered stands built to shelter them. Men across the country compete fiercely for their attention. But there is a catch that tells you everything about this regime. The women face mandatory retirement at age 26, the traditional marriage age, because the state believes only single women should hold the job. And in 2013, a 24-year-old traffic lady received the Hero of the Republic Medal, the nation's highest military honor, normally reserved for wartime combat. The official reason was never explained. Rumors say she stopped an assassination attempt or saved a burning propaganda poster of Kim Jong-un. To this day, nobody outside knows the truth. Now imagine discipline like that, multiplied by 100,000. The Arirang Mass Games are the largest synchronized performance on Earth. Up to 100,000 performers move in absolutely flawless coordination, combining gymnastics, dance, music, and military choreography. In the grandstands, tens of thousands of people flip colored cards in perfect unison, becoming living pixels in a giant human screen that displays portraits of the leaders. Children train for months, sometimes enduring brutal conditions, so that not a single card flips 1 second too late. To foreign visitors, it is mesmerizing. But look closer, and you see the real message. In North Korea, the individual does not exist. You are a pixel. And every image of the leaders in those performances, every portrait, every statue you have ever seen of the Kim family, comes from one single place. In Pyongyang sits the Mansudae Art Studio, one of the largest art factories on the planet, covering over 1,291,669 square feet and employing thousands of the nation's finest academy-trained artists. By law, this is the only entity in the entire country permitted to produce images and statues of the Kim family. But here is the twist almost nobody knows. This propaganda factory became an international business. Through its overseas division, North Korea has exported giant bronze monuments and government buildings to 17 countries, mostly in Africa, including a towering 160-foot statue in Senegal. By 2011, these projects had reportedly earned the sanctioned regime over $160 million in hard currency. Dictator art, it turns out, sells. An empty hotel, fake cities, 100,000 synchronized dancers, an entire art factory manufacturing the regime's image. But step outside the spotlight of these spectacles, and you will find exactly what the cameras were built to hide. Most North Koreans live in cramped, freezing apartments with no heating, a few unreliable hours of electricity, and often no running water. Malnutrition is so widespread that the average North Korean is about 2.4 inches shorter than the average South Korean. A typical meal is a small bowl of rice with a few vegetables. Meat appears a few times a year, if at all. Citizens cannot travel between cities without a special permit, and leaving the country is a capital crime. There is no internet, no foreign movies, no foreign music, no foreign books. Getting caught with a South Korean pop song can destroy your entire life. And from the age of 5, children are taught that their leader is a god and the outside world is evil. Most North Koreans genuinely do not know how poor they are because they have never been allowed to see anything else. Look at a satellite photo of East Asia at night, and you will see something chilling. South Korea blazes with light, China glows, and between them sits a black hole the size of a country. North Korea's power grid is so outdated that even the capital routinely goes dark. Televisions in many areas receive electricity only during certain hours of the day. The government runs propaganda campaigns blaming citizens for wasting power with rice cookers, and the people quietly mock these campaigns because most of them barely have electricity to waste in the first place. The wealthy have found an escape: private solar panels. But a full system with batteries costs around $2,750, a fortune in a country where the average citizen earns less than $2 a day. No electricity, no imports, and on the farms, no fertilizer either, which led to one of the strangest markets on Earth and to a medical discovery that shocked doctors in South Korea. North Korea cannot produce chemical fertilizer, and international sanctions block imports. So around 2014, Kim Jong-un issued an official order to the entire nation: fertilize the fields with human and livestock manure. And since livestock is scarce, the supply comes mostly from humans. Every winter, the state launches a campaign citizens call the Manure Battle. Schools, offices, factories, and neighborhood units are all assigned strict quotas of human waste they must collect and hand over. Fall short, and corrupt officials forced you to pay cash penalties, roughly $1 for every 2.2 pounds of manure you fail to deliver. The demand became so intense that actual stores selling human feces began appearing around 2010. Families guard their outhouses because people genuinely steal each other's waste in the night. One farm worker was publicly shamed and threatened with reduced food rations for trying to pass off coal ash as manure. And the consequences are exactly what you would expect. Spreading untreated human waste on food crops has triggered a nationwide epidemic of intestinal parasites. In 2017, a North Korean soldier was shot 5 times while defecting across the border. When South Korean surgeons opened him up to save his life, they found dozens of parasitic worms inside his body, including one measuring 10.6 inches long, something the doctors said they had never seen in their entire careers. Many countries have drug problems. None of them look like this. In the 1970s, the North Korean government itself ran an official opium program, exporting narcotics to earn foreign cash. When floods destroyed the poppy fields in the 1990s, the state pivoted to manufacturing crystal methamphetamine in government facilities. Eventually, the regime stepped back, but the knowledge had already spread. Laid-off chemists and factory workers opened their own small home labs, and today, meth is woven into the fabric of daily life. With no real healthcare system, people use it as medicine. With brutal forced labor, people use it as an energy boost. And in a country of chronic starvation, it has one more devastating benefit. It kills your appetite. The numbers are staggering. One study estimates that 40% of people who try it become addicted, and defectors report that in some towns, up to 80% of residents use drugs. But here is the truly surreal part. Crystal meth carries no stigma there. It is treated as a luxury item, and exchanging it as a gift during Lunar New Year is common, especially among the young. The Pyongyang metro runs deeper underground than almost any subway in the world. That is not an engineering accident. The entire system doubles as a nuclear bunker, designed to shelter the capital's elite if war returns. The trains themselves are antiques, originally built in West Berlin, and every station is named after revolutionary themes, so even a morning commute becomes an ideology lesson. But the real machinery of control runs even deeper. Every single citizen is assigned to a neighborhood unit called the Inminban, a group of roughly 20 to 40 families watched over by a designated leader whose job is to monitor everything. These leaders can enter your home for inspection at any hour, day or night, without warning. They track your guests, your radio, your spoons, even your bed sheets. Every unit is infiltrated by at least 2 secret informants working for 2 separate security agencies. Some estimates suggest that as many as 1 in 20 North Koreans is actively working as part of the surveillance apparatus. Children are encouraged to report their own parents, and for those who are caught, the regime operates a network of political prison camps called Kwan Lee So, holding hundreds of thousands of people in conditions survivors describe as beyond belief. In North Korea, your life is determined the moment you are born, based entirely on what your ancestors did decades ago. The system is called Songbun, and it divides the entire population into 3 classes. The core class descends from people who fought alongside Kim Il-sung or served in the Korean War. They get the best jobs, government positions, the right to live in Pyongyang, even state-issued cars. The wavering class is everyone in the middle, ordinary workers and farmers with politically neutral family histories, allowed a modest existence but blocked from ever rising. And then there is the hostile class. These are the descendants of landowners, of people with relatives in South Korea, or of anyone who once practiced a religion. They are branded potential traitors from birth, assigned to the harshest manual labor, denied education, and trapped in the worst regions of the country. 3 generations of punishment works the same way in reverse. If you commit a political crime, your parents, your children, and your grandchildren can all be sent to the camps. A child born today can be a prisoner because of something their grandfather said 50 years ago. If you have watched up to this point, it means you are truly interested. Do not just stop at the like button. Please also click Hype. It takes only a few seconds, but it helps this video go much further. Practicing any religion in North Korea is illegal. Christianity is the most dangerous of all, treated as foreign poison, and being caught with a Bible can mean execution or a lifetime in the camps. A few churches do exist in Pyongyang, but defectors confirm they are props, staged for foreign visitors to create the illusion of religious freedom. Here is the deeper truth. The regime did not eliminate religion. It replaced it. Citizens must bow to statues, attend ceremonies praising the leaders, and keep mandatory portraits of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il in every home. Portraits that inspectors check for dust. North Korea maintains one of the largest standing armies on the planet, not through patriotism, through force. Military service is mandatory, and for men it begins at age 17 and lasts at least 10 years. And in 2015, facing a demographic crisis, the regime extended mandatory service to women as well, requiring them to serve until age 23, in conditions defectors describe as even harsher. And who sits at the top of this pyramid? It is time to meet the dynasty itself. Everything you have seen in this video flows from a single source. After the Korean War, Kim Il-sung seized total control and built a system designed for one purpose. His family would rule forever. When he died in 1994, his son Kim Jong-il took power and presided over a famine so devastating that citizens were reduced to eating grass. While his people starved, Kim Jong-il lived a life that sounds like fiction. He was obsessed with cinema, owning a personal library of more than 15,000 films. And when he decided North Korean movies were not good enough, he did something no other leader in history has done. In 1978, his agents kidnapped South Korea's most famous actress, Choi Eun-hee, and her ex-husband, the acclaimed director Shin Sang-ok, smuggled them into North Korea and forced them to make films for the regime for 8 years before they finally escaped through Vienna. Kim Jong-il also maintained a secret entourage of roughly 2,000 young women recruited from across the country as teenagers. Their job was to entertain the leader and his inner circle. His son, Kim Jong-un, continues the tradition. Intelligence reports estimate he spends over $300 million every year on personal luxuries, private jets, yachts, and imported cars, in a country where the average citizen earns less than $2 a day. The extravagant lifestyle of the country's head leads us to an image that raises many questions, because it appears to be high school students practicing intimate behaviors usually reserved for married couples, right in the classroom. Could this be a special way of teaching sex education in North Korea? This is the twist nobody expects. North Korea is stunning. The Pacific coastline heights pristine beaches with golden sand. Inland, Mount Myohyang rises in majestic alpine scenery with lush,